I'm pretty sure that's a co-sponsor too. But it just says hips. We all got hip replacements. Okay. Yes, and then for the month of July, there was just one kind of expense, and that was helping AU Squared to go to a Tampa conference, the sorority they are interested in. And then August is kind of getting things rolling for all the organizations as we prepare to come back for the semester. So we have the live chat for Case, Take It From Restricted, T-shirts and traveler cups, which I will say went pretty fast welcome week.
I still see them all over.
And then we co-sponsored the Welcome Week barbecue with Caribbean Circle in their concert through SG Money, different places. And then ASAP Fur came as well. That was pretty cool. That was an excellent one. Pretty lit. And then the Catholic Steps came, and Chris always truly enjoys the Catholic Steps. She's the only one who's here, Chris. September is when programming really starts to come through. So YWI event, catering fee, promotional items for KPU. The travel subsidy was used to help the PRSSA attend a national conference, their members on campus. And then, yeah, there was reception catering for Donald McKeegan. You're not gonna know that, sadly. Then the movie night, Spider-Man Homecoming, which is a great movie, by the way. I truly enjoyed it watching it at home. The Women of Color Healing and Empowerment Circle was put on by WY. Cost for that. Wonk of the Year. Ooh, time. I really enjoyed it when she roasted her little brother, because I have a little brother who's 2 years younger than me. So it was a big mood when she talked about that. And then food and supplies for the coffee talk with admin faculty and students of color. Because we can't really always disclose how much speaker fees are, stuff like that. And not violate contracts. So we had Facebook ads for DOPAR, I believe for campaigning and running for Senate elections. And then we helped Crew out with getting rental cars for their fall retreat. The intersectional conversation on domestic violence, the catering cost for that for WI. The Hurricane Harvey benefit concert and barbecue, which was really cool. And then we had to get another name tag for Chris.
Wow.
Can I tell people why or no?
Yeah, during Welcome Week, my name tag was destroyed by my sunscreen, so I was trying not to become a speaker.
At least you're protecting yourself.
And then we had Gabrielle Union come. It was incredible. Let's see, yes. And then November, we co-sponsored the Mr. and Mrs. ASO pageant, co-sponsored the Costa Pizza for the AU Dems election party, which I'm glad we could have co-sponsored that because that was so fulfilling. Let's see, for VP General, the cost of coffee and donuts for the class of 2020, because they did like a fundraiser type thing. Then, yes, AU Squared went to national conference over break, but they wanted to get all their money in order for us because it had some like odd procedural transactions that they sorted out with Ebony. And then we had Thanksgiving meals over break with the help of RHA. Still waiting on numbers for that, exact expenditures. And then John Lewis came for the Multicultural Greek Summit. We had catering for that. I sadly missed that event. I wish I could have gone. I was leaving the next day to go out of the country. And then the cost of insurance and conference for Mission Improbable. Yeah, I think they had great success on their conference for comedy events. And then December, yes, we had the movie night, It. Bless you.
Thank you.
I am terrified of horror movies myself. The first horror movie I watched, I didn't sleep all night. I was in high school. The Heather Booth documentary and viewing Q&A, that was a really cool event. I also cried upon finding out that Mr. Booth passed away like a couple days ago because he was at the event. I cried. I got really emotional. And then we had the $50,000 transfer to Founders Day following Senate approval. And that kind of rounds out semester for full like reports by month, which essentially say the same thing as what I just said, but maybe without me mentioning how much I don't like horror movies. They're on the website. And then, yeah, here are the end of semester balances. All that money. Yeah, and then just like next steps. Yep, monthly reports were sent to Chris. And then following my read statement, I think I will create a position within my cabinet to have someone completely devoted to external affairs. It's kind of rough being a second semester senior taking 17 credits. So trying to get that done. And I would like to extend applications to individuals not in SG currently, trying to like, broaden our scope of individuals participating in the organization. And although that individual would not need to be like confirmed by the Senate, I'll still keep you all updated. If that makes sense. And yeah, here's my email, essentially the same thing. My office hours, Tuesdays 11 to 3, Fridays 11 to 3. You know where the office is. If I'm not in the office, I'll just let you know. I'll just be in the bridge. It's like my second home. I think Solomon gets annoyed sometimes. But yes, and then spring updates. So this week I just approved the co-sponsorship with Curry Reed Circle again for a welcome back mixer. This is a smaller amount than the amount we co-sponsored in the fall for their bigger welcome back mixer, but I always like when SG co-sponsors these types of events, fosters a sense of community on campus. It's welcome to open to all students, and who doesn't like food when they get back to campus. And then the co-sponsorship request form is still on the AUSG website. If any clubs or come to you asking about co-sponsorships, field them to that form. Helps us keep track of all of those things. And then we are looking forward to more events, more clubs and orgs for this semester. And then I'm still, it's just always a work in progress. Continuously working through reconciling payment for the student rights cards. So that the full like $3,800 is going to be taken out of SG General first. That had to be reconciled Friday. But then I will move the money into SG General to pay for that because I don't plan on using money that I usually use for co-sponsorships, if that makes sense. So then I'll move around money from the case budget. Case is still, of course, allowed to request money from any of the other funds in SG pretty much. Still working out things with RHA for their transaction. Their advisor's like MIA.
Yeah, our advisor went missing, and he's just gone. We don't know when he'll be back, so we can't transfer money right now. But we're working on it.
Yeah. So upon the return, we will get that sorted away. Yeah, following the processing of like other transfers, then I want to be able to come back to Senate and put forward that directive through the Finance Committee. That's all I got. Good to be back.
Any questions for the comptroller?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's all budget information now on the website?
Yep.
Okay.
AUSG.org/budget transparency.
I think it's just slash budget.
Oh, /budget.
Yeah.
Other questions? Seeing none. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to my reports. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for being flexible with our current room situation. Just given the whole ad drop situation with courses and stuff like that, we're not really allowed to reserve like larger classrooms at the moment, but we'll work to try and find a bigger bigger room for next week. So as some updates from over break, I was doing a few different things. One, I sent you guys the current like senator guidebook. Hopefully that's helpful to all of you. I took Speaker Will's guidebook that he sent us last year and then made edits to it. So that'll reflect the 13th Undergraduate Senate. Hopefully, again, let me know if there's something wrong with it or missing or something's missing. That should really help like focus your like if you have any questions. That guidebook is really a helpful tool. Besides that, I was working on the legislative agenda all break, and right now it's just about done. It's in its like final draft form. CRP looked over it. I think it looks fantastic. Once I get some final approvals and editing done with it, then it'll be sent out to everyone and it'll be good to go. So I'm really excited for that. In terms of what to expect this semester, please sign up for office hours because that starts this week. And if you don't sign in for office hours, then you're just going to start losing points against attendance. And I've sent out multiple emails. I was being very annoying over winter break to get you guys to do that. On top of that, your committee chairs will be working to try and establish like a weekly meeting time. So please respond to any of their requests. It's just easier the faster you respond to them. We're trying to set a set meeting time every week so that you guys can just block it in your schedules and that you always have it there. You don't have any overlapping, conflicting events. Not necessarily that you'll meet every week, but if you have that time already blocked off, then it's just easier when you actually do have to meet. That way you're not missing a meeting or anything. Besides that, again, make sure you sign up for office hours. So for this semester, like you can already see that we have a lot to discuss, for our first meeting. But we really want to, I'm working with Sarah, our communications director, transparency. We want to set up some more like either both in-person town halls, but also like live streaming town halls, like the one that occurred in December last semester. I think that's a great idea. There was some great feedback from that. Great responses. So it's really good to just make sure that we're being as transparent and accessible to our constituents as possible. But also in terms of legislation, don't be afraid to reach out to me. Don't be afraid to reach out to Cheyenne. Don't be afraid to reach out to executive board members. If you have like a specific idea, talk to us because we can put you in contact with higher people in administration and we have views on certain things that you may not necessarily know of before you even put the legislation on the floor in the Senate, because that way we can, instead of just putting a piece of legislation onto the floor and then going through amendments and talking about it and then finding out that maybe this isn't the best option, maybe you can hone in on the specific ideas before it even gets to the Senate, because we have certain we have areas of knowledge that we may be able to put you in contact with people in the administration that could help you or are more specialized in the areas in which you're focused in. So I want to really push you guys to focus on this this semester. Make sure that you're really doing your research for your legislation, and then you're using people like the executive board members and you're using people like Cheyenne who are in the administration who can help you, really draft that like a strong piece of legislation. I think that's all I have right now. Again, be sure to just reach out to me. Let me know if you guys want to talk about anything. I already sent you guys my office hours, and I look forward to a really productive semester, especially with our legislative agenda. I'm super excited. So given that, we'll move to reports from committees. Yes.
Just one question.
Questions.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, the attendance policy now takes effect where we have to go to club meetings a certain number of times in the semester.
Yes, you are correct. Based on the changes to the bylaws that happened in the prior session, you are supposed to, or you're required to attend at least one campus event per month. And then actually get involved. Even I would recommend talking to people, see if they need, if the executives that are holding that event have any issues that they want to talk about. But like attend these student events, make yourself available, and then what you're supposed to do is report at your next committee meeting to your chair and just talk with your committee. Be like, hey, this is where I went. This is what I learned. This is, you know, some areas that may be good to focus on in the upcoming semester. So yes, thank you for bringing that up. So that's required once a month. And for you to not be marked against your attendance, your committee chair is supposed to report that to me in the meeting minutes. That's how it's used, marked for attendance. Yes, Senator Dantzler.
Can I make a motion to allow Secretary Schneider 2 minutes to give a report?
Yeah, we'll do that after. We'll do that after questions about my report, and then we'll take that into consideration. Other questions? Yes.
Does that include like club meetings of like a different club?
Yeah. If there's like general body meetings, even like that counts. Just going to other student club events and meetings. Yes, Shane.
AUCC, I just did their training this morning before Senate. They are going to have an Excel spreadsheet that they're going to share with all of you, with all of the events that are happening that they're aware of. So that way you guys don't have to search to find out where people are doing things.
Perfect. Other questions? Senator O'Connor.
So we have to report this to you.
No, so you'll report to your committee chair, well, either your standing committee chair or if you're on or the special committee chair,
Okay.
and then they'll report to me. Like they'll reflect it in the meeting minutes.
Okay.
And as long as it's reflected there and as long as you talked about it, then you get credit towards the attendance. And it's in the, I'll have to make sure that it's in the binder, but if you need to look at the specific wording, you guys can go back to the 12th binder and look at it. Other questions for me on my report? Okay, cool. Now, is there a motion? Did I hear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, motion to
Add 2 minutes to the report from the officers. So
or Secretary Schneider. Okay, so there's a motion to amend the agenda to add a report from Secretary Schneider for 2 minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All those, this requires a 2/3 because it's amendment to the agenda. All those in favor of adding the report, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, perfect. Secretary Schneider, you have the floor.
I literally just wanted to give a quick update on one thing. Many of you may have seen that there's been an uptick in job sports reports about scams recently. I came across a couple on Facebook. One was particularly severe. So earlier this week, I made the decision to take down the job board for a couple days. So people got like a screen that said job board is currently down and we're working on fixing it. One resulted in a police report. So I generally try and take it down immediately once that stuff happens so we can kind of evaluate where we are. What I did was, so the way the jobs board worked for the past year or so is that when a member of the community or like a neighbor who's going to employ students wants to apply for an account, they submit a Google form which goes to the AU Department of Community Relations, and their like residency is verified by an AU office, and then it's referred back to us to create the account. That's been working pretty well for the past year or so, but obviously it's not enough. So between increasing language on the site directed at students about recognizing when there's a scam and when to kind of break off and not communicate further with somebody, and also adding an extra layer in. We're probably going to launch again on Monday, which is a nice quick turnaround. The extra layer of protection is that when somebody with an account goes to post a job, it's actually not going to be posted immediately. It's going to be pending approval by somebody in Secretary's Cabinet. I'm retraining my staff, hopefully early this week, to be able to do that, but I'll be functioning in that capacity as of when we relaunch, hopefully tomorrow. And I think that'll hopefully really curtail the number of scams. Because they're pretty obvious. Like there's usually misspellings, they're pretty vague, they don't provide details in their original posting. Our neighbors are really good about making the posts very detailed. And when they're not like that, that's when it's pretty obvious that it's a scam. So we're increasing the language and we added that extra protection.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions for the secretary? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to reports from committees. So the Standing Committee on Student Rights and Services. Yes, Senator Chen.
Okay, so the Standing Committee on Student Rights and Services is a bill up today about Senator Hack's mental health survey that we edited and passed to committee, recommended to full Senate. So that is cool. I actually have a question for the speaker. So Senator Akami and I have a bill about the establishment of an AVID program, and we want to continue to edit it before it goes to committee. So can I motion to take that off the agenda for today? Or if I'm not mistaken, we already recommended it to committee, so it should be, yeah.
Oh, it hasn't, you weren't able to meet for it?
Yeah, and also like we want to like edit it before it goes to committee, or like.
We just have some new facts we'd like to add to it before.
Yeah,
because it'd be just, it's better to have everything.
Oh, okay, so you're withdrawing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And on the top of that, Senators, it's been actually met with like some administration officials and talked about it. So we think we might do some like rebranding of the program, but definitely like I put on my legislative agenda an AVID like program that supports like first and minority low income students in their first semester at AU. So we're gonna like rebrand it, but
okay.
That's the status on that. Yeah, I think that's it.
Standing Committee on Accessibility, Transparency, and Accountability.
So we met Wednesday and we reviewed a bill to mandate weekly office hours for the Senate Directors of Communication. We recommended it to full Senate. I think it's the last one on that business. We also just discussed in general our goals for the semester, which are on the legislative agenda. If anybody has any questions about that, that's about it. That was the only bill that we had go through our committee this week.
Cool. All right. Special Committee on Finance.
Okay, so just two brief things. One, which the comptroller already covered, is that the finance report for the last semester is on the website, so everyone can see it now. And then the second thing is we haven't met yet because there hasn't been any legislation or anything, but Mulan, who's the vice chair, and I are going to be meeting soon just to discuss how we're going to do things moving forward, and with the budget process coming up, how we're going to handle it. That's it.
All right, thank you. For the Committee on Rules and Privileges, we met today before the Senate meeting to discuss a new confirmation. So that's a new business. The committee favorably recommended the nominee. And then we also were talking about, there was amendments to the rules of debate and decorum that was submitted, talking about changing the way like the agenda works and the way legislation is submitted. And after some further discussion, we tabled that. So that's tabled for another meeting to get more input on what the amendments are, what their goals are for. And then besides that, we went over the current draft of the legislative agenda. And once I have some like final meetings, like I said before, about it, then I'll send it to all of you so that you can look at it, and we'll go from there. So moving on, advising from student activities. Is there anything else?
Hello, everyone. I have no updates. Welcome back. My email inbox is currently at 200. So if you've emailed me, I'm not ignoring you. And by the end of the week, I will respond. And if you have any updates about what you guys want to be working on this semester, you can just shoot me a quick email by the end of this week. That'd be helpful. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, moving to new business. So our first piece of new business is the confirmation of Amina How does he say it again? Jabber, thank you. To be a senator for the class of 2018. So you may come on up, and the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, I'm Nina. I go by Nina, and I'd like to be a senator for the class of 2018. And the reason why I would like this position is because I really wanted to take on a leadership role. Last year, I decided that I really wanted to take on a leadership role and really didn't know how to go about doing it. My roommate was in a sorority and she took on a leadership role through her sorority, and I joined Sigma Kappa last year and thought maybe that was how I was going to take on a leadership role, to share my experiences and knowledge with younger students. However, I also knew I was going abroad in the fall and was not going to be able to take on any responsibilities that would require me being here the entire year. I spent the fall semester studying law and history in Wales, and it was during this time my sorority got a new e-board and elected people, and I was not able to take on a leadership position because I am graduating in May, and all of their terms are year-long terms, and so therefore I couldn't take on a role there. So I was really excited when there was an opportunity for me to take on a role here and have some leadership and be able to share my experiences with other students. And yeah, I think I'm qualified for the position because I have had leadership experience in the past. I was the treasurer my sophomore and junior year for the AU club tennis team, and I'm currently the vice president of the AU club tennis team. I'm a poli-sci major. I've had 2 internships on the Hill, and I've worked for my state senator, so I have legislative experience, and I love public speaking.
Great, thank you. Any questions for the nominee? Senator O'Connor.
So what are some of the issues or potential things on campus that you want to work on once you're in the Senate?
So I talked about this earlier. I'm really big on transparency. I am a senior, and I honestly knew very little about Senate. I knew it existed, but I really didn't know how to get involved or how to come forward with issues and things. So just transparency and getting ourselves out there.
Other questions? Senator Pintar.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you again. Just to repeat my last question, so everyone can hear. Since you're a senior, what's a problem that you've experienced on campus in your 3.5 years, and what's the solution you would have to that?
So a problem that I've seen on campus is that we're a very, I don't want to say biased campus, but we are kind of biased, as in we're very left-leaning, and there's lots of students on campus who aren't left-leaning but are the minority, and they kind of feel left out a lot of the time in certain areas. And so I think really just equality for everyone on campus.
Other questions? Senator Pintar.
Yeah, just sorry, I really want to elaborate how would you make that equal?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm a very open-minded person, and I don't mind hearing the other side's opinion on things. And so I just feel I've experienced lots of students not being willing to hear the other side's opinion in classes and things like that. And so I don't know. I just think we should hear both sides before you make a snap judgment.
Other questions? All right, seeing none, if you wouldn't mind leaving the room. All right, are there any points of discussion or debate on the nominee? Senator O'Connor.
I thought I wasn't entirely impressed with her answer to my question. I think transparency is obviously pretty great, but it was a little vague, and I would have looked for something a bit more substantive, or literally any other sort of issue on the campus. I mean, we can think dozens. Just look at our agenda right here. So, yeah, so that's my point.
Senator Fryer.
In regard to her answer to Senator Pintar's question, considering that she said that was a main issue that she wanted to focus on in Senate, and then didn't really have, I guess I would have appreciated if she kind of had at least a little bit of an idea of how she would want to address it or go about it. And I think that when running for senator, or wanting to be a senator, you and you have these ideas that you want to do, I think it's a good idea to kind of have a general sense of like how we would want to go about like fixing it.
Senator Sitzman?
Yeah, on these 2 points of her having like principal goals, but not necessarily putting forward a proposal in detail, I would just take everyone's mind back to the campaign when most of us joined the Senate. And there it is definitely the case almost all the time that people who are successful tell the students that they represent what kind of goals they would like to achieve, like those lofty, broad ideas, but don't give proposals because they haven't had time to sit down in the Senate and work on the details of what they're doing. So if we can hold that standard for ourselves, like decide what we want to do and have students say, yeah, I want to do that too. And then once we get in the Senate, work on the minutia. If that's good enough for all of us, I think we should apply that same standard to people who come in through confirmation as well.
Senator Hakami?
I actually really like her, although I do want to vocalize some sentiments that have been said. Especially during the Senate campaign, we did put a lot of pressure on individuals who said they wanted to promote diversity and inclusivity, but then had absolutely no tangible, methods of doing so. So I think, these broad terms, we need to kind of look further or deeper into what they necessarily mean. Google searching is pretty easy. I think a lot of kids did use Google search to figure out what they want to do. And to be honest, if you're going to be running for a position, maybe come up with at least 3 tangible ideas of what transparency means to you and how you're going to actually implement that on campus. It's one thing to just say I'm for diversity, but it's another to say here's how I'm going to actually make sure that AU is diverse. Here is how I'm going to make sure that AU is inclusive. And here's how I'm going to make sure that Senate is transparent. So it's about the second step, and that's something that oftentimes people neglect.
Senator Pintar?
Yeah, and I think just to echo that a little bit, I think that's the difference between the people who want to be here and the resume builders. I think because she is a second semester senior, and we do need to fill that position. But to me, it's just is this going to be someone who does want to work on transparency as opposed to just addressing that problem in her trial, and then comes to meetings every Sunday.
Other Senator Kennan?
Well, I think on the flip side, we don't want to necessarily be so exclusive, especially when it's a position that's only going to be open for 5 months. And I think we should commend the nominee's willingness to serve the AU community and look highly on that fact. Also, while in the campaign, many people had specific proposals, not many of them were necessarily actionable. And so I think that having this broad view that she wants to address campus climate and improve openness to new ideas here is definitely something commendable.
Senator Sitzman?
I would also just note that almost all the people who have spoken in this period in the full Senate were also present in CRP when we heard this nomination. And if I remember correctly, the feedback there was all positive, and she was recommended unanimously. So I would just wonder if there is new opposition, where did it come from?
Senator Koshman.
And I think some of the other senators have echoed the point that this is a position that is temporary insofar as it's not going to last until next year, and that it is a position that needs to be filled. So I think we need to stop thinking of it in the mindset of wanting to have a perfect candidate and start thinking of it as, would this person be a detriment to the Senate? And honestly, I highly doubt that. That seems like a very straightforward, honest person. Maybe didn't give as much substantive answers as we were looking for, but I just think we are holding her to a little bit too high of a standard. I think that's not necessarily fair.
Senator Legitimacy?
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm just kind of confused as to why our standards jump so high between CRP and this full body, because the sentiment stated in CRP were all positive. She seems supremely qualified, and she seems more than willing to work with all of us, which I can't see as any sort of negative impact to Senate. I also think that the fact that she didn't come in with a multi-point plan of how she's going to improve transparency shouldn't be necessarily a reason for us to not confirm her, because I think it's difficult for her to lay out a plan for transparency when she's not a member of this body yet, because a lot of us weren't fully aware of how that
work through the best way to do that until we get involved in this body. So I definitely don't think that that should be a reason for us to prevent her from being confirmed, because I think that she would be an excellent addition to this body.
Secretary Schneider?
I'm differing on whether you choose, what you choose here, but I heard one of the points, and I just wanted to kind of address one of those, which is that, you know, if they're not going to serve a detriment to the body, then we should approve them. I think like that's not a great way to think about it. Again, I'm indifferent to this nominee. I think she seems pretty qualified, and I think that she would add something to the body. But I don't think we should necessarily just approve someone because they're not going to make that. Like they should actively add something. And for all the things that I see, I think she should add something to the body. That was something I heard and wanted to kind of bring up.
Senator Pintar?
Yeah, just in point of clarification, just like in CRP, I abstained from voting. I didn't say anything just because like I just wasn't like, I don't know. I was just kind of on the fence about her, so I didn't know if I wanted to like. I knew we were probably gonna like pass. She's gonna pass her CRP, so I just really wanted to like hear more of the discussion in here, and so that was just why I was bringing up these points now as opposed to back then.
Senator Conley?
Yeah, actually, I abstained from voting in CRP too. Again, I think she's a really great candidate. I'll probably vote for her right now. I just think that, you know, it's really not that difficult. I don't know. You know what? That's fine. First, I don't think it's that hard.
Senator O'Connor?
Yeah, I would just say, I probably won't be voting for her as well, but I'll just say as someone who was confirmed just a month ago, you know, I didn't write out, you know, a bunch of policy papers to like, you know, sort of explain the different issues I want to work on. But I did talk to, you know, student leaders. I've been involved in local clubs. You know, I've talked to student workers. I've done some work on mental health in the past. And just to echo Senator Conley's points, like, you know, I felt like, you know, it's really not too hard to maybe come up with, you know, at least one or two concrete proposals that like that could really sort of go forward with once you sort of get involved in the Senate.
Senator Kenna?
I move to vote on the nominee.
All right, there's a motion to vote on the nominee. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All right, all those in favor of moving to vote on the nominee, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, so now we will vote on the confirmation of Amina. So all those in favor of confirming the nominee to be senator for the class of 2018, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, in the opinion of the chair, the yeas have it. Someone go grab her.
Yeah, I got it.
Or you can come up here up there. I'll serve you. All right. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear
I, Amina Al-Jabber, do solemnly swear
that I will diligently and faithfully
that I will diligently and faithfully
execute the duties and responsibilities
execute the duties and responsibilities
of the office of Senator to the class of 2018,
of the office of Senator for the class of 2018,
that I will abide by the governing documents
that I will abide by the governing documents
of the student government,
of the student government,
and that I will work to my fullest abilities
and that I will work to my fullest abilities
to promote the interest and welfare
to promote the interest and welfare
of the students of American University.
of the students of American University.
Congratulations. All right. All right, moving on to the next business item, Bill 17-18-008, a bill to reform and expand case. There you go. Okay. Would the sponsor like to speak on the bill?
Yes, please. So a couple of things. Just first of all, this bill seems long the first time you look at it, since there's a lot of text. But the way it's set up, it should be relatively easy to follow once you go through it one time. But what this does is essentially recognize that the purpose of CASE, and I think it's one of the most important things that SG has, is to kind of level the playing field between the university and students, because theoretically, any student could get anything from the university that they wanted to if they just did what they were supposed to do. But the university kind of implicitly makes that harder by setting up bureaucratic systems that students have to navigate. And of course, the university knows those because they create and administer them, but students shouldn't be expected to know how every office of the university works going in. So this bill kind of expands on that purpose of CASE by explicitly organizing which parts of CASE work with students for different matters, and also adding offices that CASE doesn't do right now, but are still the same setup, where students have to navigate some specific bureaucracy to do something that they need to do, but they don't know because they don't have that bureaucratic background. So right now, CASE does casework with students. They help them with the university on academic integrity cases, conduct, and Title IX sexual assault reporting and adjudication. So this bill organizes all of those casework onto the direction of one person for each of those offices. Because right now, I've been told that there needs to be some of that organization, and it just hasn't been done yet because CASE is doing so much else. And then this bill also adds a similar person to coordinate casework having to do with student finance, a student finance advocate, which is something that a lot of people in student government have talked about for many years, but has never been done. I think it's really important because, of course, it's at the top of almost all students' list, matters that they have to do at the university that are hard and challenging for them to navigate its finance. So that'll help students as much as CASE can. And then also the final distinct bureaucracy that it identifies is the one having to do with veteran and ROTC students. They have a particular set of offices that they need to go to, and it's the same as with academic affairs and finance and the rest. So this bill is the result of a lot of meetings and negotiations that I've done over the past couple of months. I started in the beginning of October, and I met with community people first. So students who work like activists on financial aid issues and leaders from veteran students groups. And then I talked to a bunch of people in CASE staff, including Director Mascaro and a few senators to refine the language of this bill. And what you all have in your emails is the final result. So I can answer your questions now.
Any questions for the sponsor? Senator Chen.
I just first wanted to commend Senator Zipman. I know you've been working really hard on this, so congrats on really finishing it. I know when we met about this, we spoke about, I was concerned about the price of the stipends for all of the appointed positions that you list out here in the bill. Did you come to like a conclusion, Director Mascaro, about what the stipends would be, if each position would have a stipend, and like where that money would come from?
Okay, yeah, so there's a couple things. The first thing is that this bill doesn't appropriate any funds or spend any money. So there's that. It does establish these new positions, people to coordinate casework on the 5 areas, academic affairs, integrity, Title IX, veterans, and finance. When I was discussing this with Will Mascaro, who's been my primary partner in creating this, he and I came to the conclusion that some kind of stipend, not a large one, of course, like an executive board or the speaker or whoever else, but some kind of stipend would be a plus with those offices to make sure that we get the best candidates to do the best work and that it's easier for us to hold them accountable. Now, the rest of your question about specifics, we didn't come up with any number. That's up to the finance committee when we go through and decide the stipend allocations for the next budget cycle. So yeah, there's nothing concrete in here, but that is something that was discussed.
Other questions for the sponsor? President Dumpson.
Yes, so Bob, you've been doing a lot of great work on this. I have two questions. The first question was in terms of, we were talking about the bureaucracy that it creates or the university creates.
Mhm.
How is this by instituting more and more positions that are set within underneath the case and by expanding that, how is that going to limit the bureaucracy rather than recreating it? Because when I read through the bill, what it looked like to me is that the way that the Office of Campus Life is currently structured is just recreated through this with case, and then it's just giving a point person for each of the areas of each of the offices that the Office of Campus Life supervises. So to me, I don't see how this is helping students further navigate the bureaucracy because it's creating another bureaucracy in and of itself.
Okay, yeah, I see that. But the way I look at it, just like you've got the university without these offices in case that you can navigate, or you can have it with case. Without case, you're going up to these offices like alone, and you have these forms that you can read with their complicated language and navigate it just like in a mediocre way without any like specialized background information. But what this does is because people in case, this is what they do, they are familiar with that office, so they can be an advocate for you just like they do now. They have an expertise that allows you to better navigate their bureaucracy. Now, it could be like hypothetically, conceivably the case that this creates another bureaucracy that students have to navigate, like you said. But case right now, I think they do a good job of helping students and not dragging students into their own internal workings. I think that's what you're referring to. So my hope is that case would continue the way they operate, which is to be first and foremost a help and advocate to students and not burden the students. I don't see where that would happen. But overall, this it's just an organization bill. It organizes cases resources so that they can best do what they already do, which is help students through university bureaucracy. And I think you had a second question?
Yes,
yeah.
And my second question was in regards to how it's currently structured and how CASE works, and the fact that you mentioned that the people that work in CASE, the deputies and the rest of the team is kind of structured already in these spaces. What happens when the times change? And what happens when campus starts to shift so that their needs are different? Because my fear with creating a bill that does this is that if it creates specific enough or specific enough sections of CASE, that when an issue happens on campus that we don't expect to happen, we've already limited ourselves to this. Because when another CASE director becomes appointed next year and takes the office, the needs and what CASE focuses on might shift, just like every administration for student government shifts. So with that in mind, how does this further help CASE? Help adapt to a campus that is growing and changing. Because as we see even with Senate changes underneath of each speaker, what Senate prioritizes and things of that nature shifts. So I just wanted to kind of get that, or I guess kind of hear your feedback.
Sure. So the first place I would point everyone is one of the last sections of the bill that talks about existing positions in CASE. And that provision gives the CASE director, under the authority of your office reporting to it, the ability to organize CASE however they want outside of these offices. So there's always going to be changes in the landscape. And this year you've noted that campus climate has really dominated SG's time because of the circumstances that happen on campus. If there's another issue that arises like that, just something that takes over SG just because of campus events, then CASE, if they are the particular part of SG that is best suited to handle that, they have the ability to adapt to whatever conditions they need to because of that. This isn't saying that these offices are going to be CASE, period. But so CASE has the ability to make and do whatever kind of work they see fit. But these offices, it does establish them specifically, permanently, because campus does change, and it has always changed. But also, in perpetuity, students are always going.
Time has elapsed for
Can I
question.
extend it?
Motion to extend for how long?
3 minutes.
There's a motion to extend the questioning by 3 minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay.
So as long as there is going to be a campus, there are going to be academic affairs problems, ROTC students, students are going to have to pay for college. There hopefully, we hope that there will be no more sexual assaults, but unfortunately there will be, and there will always be student conduct cases. So these are the particular things that CASE does that won't change as far as I can see.
Other questions for the sponsor? Senator Burgess.
My question for the senator, I was going to say, is how is this any different from, I would say, like the duties and the office of the president of student government?
Well, CASE is under the president of student government. So can you clarify your question?
In the sense of like, how would these new positions kind of fall under the jurisdiction of the president's cabinet in terms of like reporting to the case director that would then have all of this information to report to the president? Like, where would the flow of communication come to the president at the end of the day to inform him or her of what's happening?
Okay. So as per the bylaws and the Constitution, there's the president, and established directly under the president in their cabinet is the case director. And then underneath the case director is all of CASE, where they can, the director can organize these offices as they see fit. It could be the case, and Director Mascaro said if he does it, this would be the case for him, that these people who organize conduct matters and finance matters, those individuals would report directly to the director, who then reports to the president. So 1, 2, 3. But the only thing that is specifically established by either this bill or the governing documents is that the case director reports to the president, and all of CASE reports to the case director in some fashion.
Other questions for the sponsor? Secretary Schneider?
So I believe in my first year at AU, they went through the bylaws towards the end of the year, and they reorganized how departments under the executives operated and how they were structured. And there used to be, like under KPU, there used to be a bunch of positions that were mandated by the bylaws, and those were all removed. They stopped mandating how directors had to run their departments because of the year-to-year change in priorities and how individual directors wanted to structure their cabinet, their department, excuse me. So how does this kind of legislation, what's the benefit to mandating positions versus goals of a department? I guess the question is, why can't we mandate that CASE cover things like veterans affairs, academic affairs, financial affairs, conduct, Title IX, without mandating positions?
Because I'm afraid like all of those things have been covered by CASE or different parts of student government, but they come and they go regardless of need. There is one instance where maybe the needs change on campus and student government adopts accordingly, but these needs have always been needs of students, and sometimes CASE and other parts of student government deal with them, and sometimes those needs by students go unmet. So just by establishing an individual in CASE to organize matters of casework on all of these topic areas, I think because those are always going to be needs, there should always be somebody organizing and making sure that stuff happens.
Time has elapsed. Senator Burgess?
If the senator will still want more time, I'm motion to extend to 5 more.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion to extend for another 5 minutes for questioning. And there's a second. All those in favor of a 5-minute addition to questioning, say yay.
Yay.
All opposed, say nay. Do you wish to further your?
No, I'm just saying these are always going to be needs, and they fall under a CASE's mandate and the bylaws. So I think there should be somebody organizing them.
Senator Pintar.
Sorry, just for like my clarification or anybody else, do you believe that this will help like organization and delegation of those tasks like CASE now has? So it's like, let's say like we have someone for like kind of each kind of like niche of what CASE will do, and so then we have someone to like delegate that like specific like or a specific situation to a specific case too.
Yeah, in my one of my discussions with Director Mascaro, he said that right now there is one person who below him who all casework flows to and who has to manage that. And in his opinion, having all that casework instead flow to an individual who only works with, or who only organizes casework pertaining to that particular set of university offices. In his opinion, having been case director for 2 years, that would improve the organization and delegation in case.
Senator O'Connor?
So for Bobby, does this limit case to these 5 these branches? Or is this just like, you must have at least this, and you can also potentially change this later on? You just must have these.
Yeah, so again, you should, if you have this question, you can look at one of the last sections. It says the case can organize however they want outside of these mandates. They can, like, they did hurricane relief this year because there were a lot of hurricanes. So that was them adapting to the conditions that arose. They can still do this, such a thing under this legislation, but it says these particular needs you do, and everything else you can do, or you can not do as well, depending on how you see fit.
Other questions? Senator Dantzler?
I would like to make a motion to refer this to the Student Rights and Services Committee.
Rights and Services?
Student Rights and Services.
Okay. So there's a motion to refer the bill to the Committee on Student Rights and Services. Is there a second?
Second.
All those. I'm going to entertain a debate on this one, just because I don't know if everyone understands what's going on or not. So what Senator Dantzler is doing is, instead of me referring it to a committee based on what I see fit, he is making a motion to refer it to the Student Rights and Services Committee. And so this is what you, so right now we're going to discuss it. If anyone has any points for or against it. Senator Adams?
Which committee do you see fit?
Originally, I was going to refer it to accessibility, transparency, and accountability, just because it dealt with student government. But I understand why it would go to student rights and services as well. So it's up to the body to decide that. Points for or against? Senator Burgess?
I was going to say, I'm not sure if it's against the bylaws, but is it possible that both committees, the one that you wanted to send this bill to and the one that Senator Dantzler said, if they can possibly meet to discuss this, since this seems like a very hot topic in legislation that needs to be flushed through before it comes to a full Senate vote?
I guess it's possible. I don't think I haven't noticed anything before, but what I would entertain is if there's a motion for the bill to go through both committees and then come back to full Senate, I would entertain that. Senator Kantar?
Yeah, I just have like a question for Bobby, if that's okay, just to like entertain the point.
Okay.
Bobby, how long have you been working on this bill? Was this obviously like in fall 2017? Is that correct?
Yeah, this is an idea that I had when I joined student government, because I joined student government in the Senate right after I finished an internship for my congressman where I was doing casework, and I was put on Veterans Administration's cases, and I recognized that the same thing happens with the university. You have particular bureaucracies that you need to go through. So as long as I've been in student government, I've had this idea floating around in my head, but I started talking to community stakeholders and people in case and writing this bill in early October of this year.
Okay, thank you. So, and has Director Mascaro been in communication with you and has worked with you on these points as well?
Yeah, we had one, the first formal meeting where I brought this to him about 25 minutes in early November. And then we had informal discussions about it every once in a while. And over winter break, he brought it to a number of case staffers for them to look at and help him prepare his official position. And he gave me a bunch of feedback. And we changed just a couple weeks ago. We've been changing the language as a result of negotiations between me and him to figure out what is the best way to do it. So that's where this bill comes from.
So yeah, my last question, just for clarification, is that these are all points that Director Mascaro supports and feels that would help CASE operate better and fast and more quickly for the students.
Yes, he was going to be here today, but he's not. But you can ask him, and you can talk to the people who are in CASE, but he's 2 thumbs up on this one.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
All right, so any points for or against recommending this to Student Rights and Services. Senator Koshman?
Just a point of clarification.
Yeah.
You mentioned that possibility of it going to both committees?
I mean, I haven't seen it before,
Okay.
and there's nothing that specifically limits it at all. So I would entertain if there was a motion to specifically have it go through both committees.
Okay, well, my point of clarification regarding that was, would it go through both committees and them, or would it go through one first?
It would go through one and then the next.
Okay.
Yeah. Senator Kenna?
Clarification, if it failed in one, would it still go to the other? If it was a start to vote?
If the body decides to move it through both committees and it failed in one, then it would stop right there. Secretary Schneider?
What if you created like a conflict committee comprised of both committees so that both committees can bring their expertise to the table at the same time and meet about it and discuss it, and it would, like a vote of that committee would have the force of the vote of both committees.
An ad hoc committee.
Yeah.
I'll just take a joint.
Like an ad hoc committee comprised of the members of.
Okay. Or I could make like a quick 1 week commission or something on that.
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't, I could do that.
All right, so,
Points for, against,
am I allowed to make a motion to start?
to close debate.
No, to table this until you make your committee recognition about it.
Okay.
Or would you just refer to a committee?
I would, yeah.
So I'll withdraw that.
Yeah, I haven't been to this. Let's see, I would rule that I would just send it to a committee now since it's only in first reading. And then I will create the commission tonight or tomorrow, and then we can go from there. Like the committee could, or we could just meet it too. I mean, meet together. Yes, Comptroller Machovic.
Can I recommend that, like, the committee or however this ends up being discussed, like, I don't know what I'm saying. Just make sure that if the president of AUSG hasn't been mentioned before in this legislation, which it seems like she hasn't been, make sure that hopefully if you're trying to organize something that is under her cabinet, you'll include her in it. That would be nice. Thank you. Just a recommendation.
Okay, so still in discussion on whether or not to move this to Student Rights and Services. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of recommending Bill 1718-008 to the Committee on Student Rights and Services say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Okay. In the opinion of the chair, the yeas have it. And that's where the bill will be for now until, and if it comes back next week, then we can decide on, and work on creating the commission of the joint committees. Or I would say a second option would be just for members of accountability, transparency and accessibility, or accessibility, transparency and accountability to attend a meeting of the Student Rights and Services. That way you can still have your input because you're allowed to talk. And that way it only has to go through one committee still, but you'll still have your input. That's another suggestion. And we can talk about that after the meeting as well. Cool. All right. So be referred. Moving on to resolution 1718-009. Okay. The clerk will report the name of the legislation, or the legislation by name and title.
Resolution 17-18-009, a resolution to have American University faculty inform students to use open textbooks.
Would the sponsor like to speak on the bill?
Yes. So is everyone familiar with the Open Textbooks Network? It's okay if you're not, just so I know where this discussion is probably going to be headed. Why not? No. Okay. So what GW recently did, what their Senate actually this year recently did is propose a resolution very similar to this, which mandates professors to inform students about the possibility of utilizing the open textbook network, which means that you actually get access to most textbooks that are used in classrooms for free. A problem a lot of students, including myself, have faced is professors actually force you, in most cases, to buy really expensive textbooks that can go all the way up to $200. I don't know about you guys, but the school is already very, very expensive. And adding another $200 expense is kind of burdensome for most. So what the first whereas kind of states right now is that there was research conducted by the College Board that has found the average student budget more than $1,200 per year for books and supplies. And that's just the average rate. There are some students that have to pay much more than even just that. So what AU is actually currently a part of is this open textbooks network, and it is filled in with a bunch of other universities. And literally all this resolution states is that teachers have to tell their students beforehand, before they recommend buying a textbook, that there is another option for them to choose from. So students don't have to go ahead and buy a $200 book, that this network exists and that there are more options for students to utilize when it comes to managing their finances and budgeting where they want to allocate their money and their expenses. I really don't think it's too controversial. If you're in favor of transparency with free stuff, then I think this should be the bill for you to hopefully vote on.
Thank you. Any questions for the sponsor? Senator Chen.
Just a question of clarification. So that they would only have to inform them if there is the option of an open textbook, right?
Right.
Okay.
So it would be, obviously, okay, here's the thing. Students should know about open textbooks. The fact of the matter is a lot of us, even in this room, don't know that this network exists, which is really terrible. And professors should be allocating this type of information for students to utilize, because there's going to be a lot of students in their classroom who don't know that this network exists either, and then they're going to probably force their families to go and buy maybe 3 or 4 $100 textbooks. So this literally is just something that opens up transparency for the student body.
Senator Burgess.
I was going to ask Senator Hakami, have you had a chance to speak to any professors, like any that you have that might have said this is a good idea or might want to implement this in their classroom?
Yeah, so, well, first of all, this AU is already a part of this network, so AU is on board with the idea, because they're part of it. I talked to my math professor last year. His name is Professor Ward, really cool guy. I recommend just being his friend. He is part of this teachers movement to start informing students about the open network opportunity, largely also because he understands that the math textbook that the school requires him to provide is something around $400. And that's really crazy. So a lot of teachers are slowly getting on board. This just pushes the mandate for all of them to hopefully, by the end of the year, to get on board with this idea.
Mr. Robbins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Senator Hakami. My question is, what kind of oversight will this be? Will there be to make sure that professors are actually informing students? Will this look like similar to how every syllabus must have learning objectives, a little blurb in the syllabus, and how will you also account for professors who don't want technology inside of the classroom, so then you have to refer to that textbook?
Right, so what this actually does is it would basically be implemented the same way that teachers are getting onto the green textbook or the green classroom. I'm not exactly sure what it's called. If anyone knows, please correct me.
It's like green classroom.
Right,
yeah,
right. So they
certified,
have that in the syllabus. So everyone's informed that this teacher is now going to be, utilizing technology instead of, killing trees and, providing paper. I don't know, so good, but the way that this would be used is to basically inform students on the syllabus that this network exists, you can utilize it, and you can rent textbooks from the school for free, which is a part of the network, or you can hopefully bring in a Kindle or a laptop. It's really up to the teacher. This is just an idea to be put out for whatever that professor personally deems best fit, but there must be a recommendation that this is available for students to utilize so they don't have to pay out of pocket.
Senator Morrow.
Point of clarification, so I'm not very familiar with the open textbooks thing. It's a database that are all textbooks available, that any teacher on the school, or is it limited in its scope of availability for textbooks. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's a
might
really
a
good
professor
question.
have a textbook that they're using that's not available in open textbooks? Because then when the mandate,
Right.
I'm just kind of curious, do you know?
So, you're familiar with the library database,
Yeah.
like of all the knowledge, of, like academics and everything. So this is basically the same thing. There are like thousands upon thousands of textbooks that are available on the network. What actually usually happens is the professor usually will write their own piece of research, and then they'll say, hey, you know, don't go on the network and find this that has already been published and mandated to be published by the university. Buy it because I want to actually get your expenses so I can make a profit. So what this does is it kind of closes that loophole where professors can make an extra expense off of forcing you to buy their own piece of published work. And it says that actually, you know, this is online, you can get this for free. I'm not forcing you. Like, so point being is there's a lot of different texts available. And if not, then I guess the student would have to buy it.
Time has elapsed for questioning. Senator Koshman.
Motion to extend question 2 minutes.
All right, there's a motion to extend by 2 minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. All right. Senator Dantzler.
My question is, has there been any chance to meet with faculty senate or the office of the provost? And if so, can those things be done so that you can get faculty insight?
Yeah, sure, that can totally be done. Really, this is just the first reading. I wanted to introduce this to you guys to get a scope of how everyone feels. Once this gets into committee, which I'm hoping it does, we will definitely start like fully fledging, I don't even know if that's a real word, like finding out different types of medians to make sure that this is as successful as it can possibly be.
Because I know faculty senate really has the oversight to mandate things that the faculty does.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give a suggestion in talking with faculty.
That'd be awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and just a point of clarification, this is a resolution, so it's not going to committee unless the Senate decides for it to go to committee. Other questions for the sponsor, Senator Koshman.
Would the sponsor be open to the idea of amending the language to specify that faculty put it in their syllabus? Because my only concern is that this leaves a lot of room for interpretation where a professor could essentially just name drop open textbooks on the first day of class, like really subtly and in passing, and then have that fulfill the resolution. So
Yeah, that'd be really great. Let's just do that.
Other questions, Secretary Schneider?
So before we go any further, this is questioning, right?
Mm-hmm. Give it, there's 25 seconds for questioning left, so.
And then we go into
Until, yeah, okay.
No, I withdraw my question.
Other questions? Seeing none. All right, we will move into a period of debate. Secretary Schneider.
Thank you. Before we move further into this discussion, I think we should just clarify what open textbooks are and what professors should be, how we should be approaching professors on this. Because it's not a matter of professors notifying students on the first day of class or through their syllabus that open textbooks exist as a substitute for the textbooks that are required for the course. We should be urging professors to adopt open textbooks as the textbooks required for the course. Not that they exist, that we actually push professors to use them and to publish their work in the open textbook consortium, which the library, which oversees all the coursework and syllabi for the entire university, it all goes through the university librarian, that they're already working on doing that. So in the fall semester, they had a workshop and professors got, I think they actually got money for attending this workshop. $205. Yeah, they got a stipend for attending the workshop and learning more about open textbooks. And also the library has a program that if a professor submits their work through the open textbook consortium, the library and the university pick up the fees associated with publishing it through that consortium. So I think what we should be doing is not just informing students that they exist, because that's not really doing anything for students if the professor's not adopting the textbook. That we should be working with faculty senate to further incentivize professors and departments to work the available open textbooks into coursework and syllabi, which can only be at departmental and sometimes professorial levels. And also, I think something that we could also throw into this resolution is also that all of our textbooks that cost over a certain amount of money are available for free at the library. So, and that's something that I personally have utilized throughout my time here. I haven't purchased many textbooks in my time here. And so just, I think broadening it to textbook affordability rather than honing in on like a specific goal here might be more useful.
Thank you. All right, any points of discussion or debate on the legislation? Senator Kami.
I would just like to say if anyone wants to extract any information, add any information, make an amendment, please do. I just really want this to help out the student body, and if anyone views it to be, maybe like lacking in some information, or maybe it has too much information, please make amendments as you see, like as you deem necessary. I really think this would help out a lot of people, to be honest.
Yeah, and also as just a point of reference, also that I am currently working on making a connection with the faculty senate. So definitely, because I see you guys have a lot of focus on, curriculum and like actual faculty stuff, that like making that connection would be very good to have. So keep up the work, and I'm going to help make sure that this legislation runs through the faculty senate as well. Senator Polinsky.
I just wanted to commend Senator Hakami, and I just wanted to reiterate, I guess, because I said this earlier about a different point, that we always pass resolutions or bills, and then our biggest criticism is that they don't get implemented. So I encourage you, and I'd love to work with you, and I know we've talked about this on other things, to follow up with the faculty senate and faculty, because I think that this is something that will help people, especially students who are under financial aid already and then don't have textbooks covered under that financial aid. This is something that can definitely be helpful, so I'm in full support.
Senator Zitzman.
I move to amend the second resolve.
Okay.
All right. So I'd like to amend it to read, be further resolved that the American University Undergraduate Senate encourages faculty, and here's where the new language comes in, to adopt open textbooks for the courses that they teach, and then strike the rest.
Okay, so is that the language you wish to see?
Yep.
Okay. Is there a second on the amendment?
Second.
Okay. Discussion on the amendment. Senator Morrow.
Is there a reason why you're crossing off the to inform students about open text? Isn't that basically the premise of this entire resolution? To like require that they inform you about it?
I'll entertain that. So I don't know the motivation behind it specifically because it's not mine, but I imagine that what we're really going for is trying to get students to use, be able to use open textbooks. And so, like the secretary said, it's a matter of getting them used in classes more than informing students about them. So I guess, yeah, like we could inform as well, but the fundamental bit is to get the open textbooks actually in use.
Senator Burgess.
Is there a reason why we are getting rid of low-cost course materials as well?
Well, if it's an open textbook that we're primarily going for, that's, I guess we could have that in as well. It's not, I didn't really intend anything with that bit there.
Senator Hakami.
I was wondering if we can not cross out the to inform until the last and then after that they teach, we can add so for faculty to adopt open textbooks for the courses that they teach on their syllabi or syllabi, and then to inform students about open textbooks and other low-cost course materials when selecting textbooks.
Other points of debate or discussion on the amendment? Senator Zitzman.
Yeah, I think like what Senator Hakami just said and the other things that have been mentioned are good additions. So I would encourage people, even though we all freak out when there are different color amendments on the board at once. We just go ahead and do it, add those amendments.
Senator Morrow?
No,
No, okay. Other points of debate or discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we'll move to voting on the amendment. All those in favor of adopting what is in yellow and what is crossed out, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, it is opinion of the chair that the yeas have it. This is the current wording of the legislation. Other points of debate on the bill as a whole, or on the legislation as a whole. Senator Agdepa.
I was going to echo Senator Flinskey's point earlier about following up if the bill gets passed and how to ensure the professors are able to enact an open textbook policy in their classes as a senator for like the SIS. I do think there's a way that senators can actually go to professors as like, I'd say as like a link towards Senate and to really ensure that the textbooks are adopted. And I think I would love to work with Senator McCamey and Senator Polinsky on that method, because I think that it would also help senators to actually meet the professors and actually get to know what their goals are as faculty.
Other points of debate or discussion on the bill, on the legislation? Senator Kenna.
I think it would be a good idea to add, in addition to the language that we have, another clause that says, be it further resolved, this undergraduate senate encourages the AU faculty senate to adopt a similar policy.
So is that just a suggestion? Is that a motion?
Well, I wanted to hear debate on it, but we can make it an amendment.
Okay. Where would you like, so where's the motion going?
I move to amend resolution to include a new clause that says,
Where would you like it?
at the end,
Right at the end?
be it further resolved that the American University Undergraduate Senate encourages the American University Faculty Senate to support open textbooks and implements a similar policy to this resolution.
To what?
This resolution.
Okay.
There should be an S after encourages. Encourage.
Actually, can we change it to implement a policy similar to this resolution? Like, switch those two words.
Okay.
First.
Okay, is this the wording you wish to see?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Discussion on this amendment in yellow. Secretary Schneider.
I support this. I think this amendment should pass, but after we do this amendment, can we please send this to committee? I think it would be, I think it would be, I talked to Senator Nami, I think it would be extremely useful and efficient to send it to.
Okay. Any discussion or debate on this amendment? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of adopting what is in yellow, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. All right. Any other points of debate or discussion? Senator Zitzman.
I move to refer this to the Student Rights and Services Committee.
All right, there is a motion to refer this resolution to the Committee on Student Rights and Services. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of referring this to the Committee on Student Rights and Services, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay.
All
All right, still referred.
Not nay, I'm sorry.
All right.
I got too caught up in the moment. It's really exciting being here.
Okay, moving on to our next business item. The clerk will report the legislation by name and title.
Resolution 17-18-10, a resolution to recognize and support AU Dreamers.
Would the sponsor like to speak?
Yeah, sure. Would you like to first speak before I do it?
No, you go, and then I'll just.
Sure, okay. So everyone is aware of what's currently happening in today's America. It's pretty disappointing. What this resolution does is it recognizes and obviously it supports students who are dependent on DACA that attend American University, but not only just American University. The last clause also states that we will be supporting Dreamers in every single university. I don't know if you guys are familiar with specifically in one case what's happening at UC Berkeley. One of my friends who is in UC Berkeley student government actually informed me of this. And she said that one of their students was illegally detained, and they're now working to free this student. His name is Luis. And the scariest thing is this is not only occurring at UC Berkeley, this is occurring all over America, today's America. And Senator Pintar and I found this really, really crucial to write up this resolution, just to say that, we don't stand for any of the BS that's happening, and that all of our students deserve the right to be recognized as legal students, as American University students and supported students, and that AUSG in particular will never condone such hatred or just terrible actions and language towards a large or a very apparent section of our student body. Dreamers range from students who are, everyone probably knows who a DACA recipient is, and I think it is our moral obligation as elected representatives to be doing what's right, and that is to support students we represent.
So something I just want to add is, obviously this has been something that's been on our radar even like before the announcement in September. So, and I had the pleasure to work with Yami, who works in Taylor's cabinet, who's amazing, and she is so on top of all this, and she is so passionate about this. So it's been amazing to watch her work on that. And I know it's hard right now, just because especially with the shutdown, and we don't know what the new policy is going to be, or if they're going to make one at all. So
yeah,
that's
I'm not saying that it's either CHIP or DACA. So that's America, y'all.
Okay, I know. It's just so yeah. So we don't. So we really don't know now what the new policy is going to be. So I think that just showing our solidarity in obviously once we can adapt as soon as we know what new policy is going to come forth and how we work from there. But as for now, especially in this time, I think it's good just to reinstate our solidarity.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the sponsors? Seeing none, we'll move into debate. Any points of debate or discussion on the resolution? Seeing Secretary Schneider.
Give me 30 seconds. I just didn't want that to lapse.
Any other points of debate or discussion? Senator Nayar.
I just wanted to commend you too for this. I am a first generation American, super lucky to be here. And it warms my heart to see you two are so passionate about this. So thank you.
Other points of debate or discussion? Senator Kenna.
Rather than this just being a statement of policy, is there any way that we could have action steps or action items here, maybe on the AUSG website provide links to pro bono legal clinics and things like that for DACA recipients?
Yes.
Yeah, so that definitely will happen, and I think right now we do have a lot of Know Your Rights clinics that do happen on campus, so those are there. But as for now, I think it is just more of a resolution, just because the shutdown's literally happening, so we can find out like what policies are gonna happen, and then we work from there. So I think that's just why we're putting it out now. But yes, that's something we want to do. Thank you.
President Rogers?
Thanks. I would just say, I think this is, I think it's good to support dreamers both at AU and around the country. I'll also just say that we've seen resolutions like this in the past supporting this community or supporting that community. And I would just challenge you all to think about actually taking steps to support those communities like Tom had said, particularly because I don't think many people will see this, many people on our campus. And so I think it's unlikely that Dreamer students would see this and be supported by it. I don't know, I'm not a Dreamer student, I can't speak for them. But speaking as a student, you know, when I wasn't in student government, I didn't know what student government was doing. So I think it's unlikely that people will see this resolution. So that's just something to think about. I'm not for or against, just consider that in the future.
Senator Polinsky.
Two quick things. So first off, there is a spot on our website. I don't know how updated it is, but there is a slot under For Students tab on the AUSG website that's for undocumented students, which offers some legal advice from, I'm just quoting from NYU and Georgetown, and offers analysis of recent executive orders. So I don't know how updated that is because it is an ever-changing issue. So maybe if we could work towards updating that specific spot on the website. I know that's not something I fully have supported this resolution. I think it's amazing, but I think that is something we could work towards just on the side. And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say.
Senator Kami.
For those who do not have access to this resolution or maybe did not have the time to read, I would suggest looking at the second to last and the last whereas clauses. And also the third to last. It says, whereas American University must uphold current and implement present long-standing policies to not permit us to provide immigration officials with information about our students or allow immigration officials to enter AU classrooms or residence halls without a court order. AU must maintain that DCPD will not inquire about immigration status when they detain, question, or otherwise interact with people. And actually the last clause is just about how we support other fellow universities. But this leaves room open for interpretation or workings with different kinds of already upheld AU policies, ones that we want to add in the future, and also gives ability for LULAC, LASSO, and other organizations on campus who are doing advocacy for Dreamers to jump in and basically present their own opinions and suggestions on what student government should be doing from now on. Also with the Transparency Act's, statement that was made, we're hoping on hopefully writing up either a statement or copying this entire bill and posting it on social media platforms for students to be able to visibly see. And then also we will be sending it to the people who are in charge of LULAC, LASSO, and other types of organizers on campus to do what they see best fit with this resolution. So don't worry, this will be definitely, fully, forgetting English. Oh my goodness. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
We've thought about this, guys.
We've thought about this, guys.
Senator Dancer.
I wanted to ask this co-sponsors, did you by chance get a chance to look at CDI's website? We have a section on our website for undocumented students where we actually spell out that AU campus police will not question, hold, or arrest AU students on the basis of immigration alone, and that AU campus police will not participate in joint immigration enforcement efforts with other law enforcement officials unless required by law. And so we have those two statements along with other statements from Sylvia Burwell, along with some other resources. So if you guys haven't looked at that, I would highly suggest it, or maybe even include that in the resolution, because I remember when it was really big, beginning of the fall semester, our office, with the assistance of Dr. Bonta, really make sure that our website was up to date with all the policies, even WCL's Immigration Justice Clinic, President Burwell's statement, etc.
That's awesome. Actually, the points that we put into our resolution were actually taken off the CDI website. So definitely commend all the work that CDI is doing, and it's definitely inspired a lot of what this resolution is.
And yeah, thank you so much for bringing up all the work that CDI does, because it's obviously very important. It does has so much progress on our campus. This is I just want to reiterate that this is also just because there's gonna be updates like coming in the next couple of weeks about Dreamers. So we just wanna make sure that like we are like on, we as a Senate can like also move forward and work on those legislations as well. So like this is not the end all be all, and we're not trying to like say this is the first and only thing that's ever been done by student government.
Senator Hanash's proxy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a question that I have is, would there be any entertainment of the idea of working with the Washington College of Law with this, like making sure that this amendment is, not this amendment, this resolution is viewed by them, they can look at it, and then they can also somehow create some kind of like task force to respond to the upcoming changes that could be happening or whatever. I'm just curious about any input that they would have, so that way it's an actual extension of the university and not people coming to this campus.
Other points of debate or discussion? Senator Hawk.
Thank you. So I mean, I think that this is well-intentioned, but I think what President Rogers mentioned was really important. And so I think I'm also pretty ambivalent as to whether this passes or not, because I mean, it's a resolution and like the resolve clause effectively doesn't really do anything. And if American University is already doing everything that's mentioned in the whereas clauses, I mean, the fact that they're in whereas clauses means that AU is already doing all of those things. I don't see what more we can do. And now I know it's been mentioned that these other organizations and clubs and stuff could help, but the fact is that other people have mentioned they're already doing things, and regardless of whether this passes or not, I assume that they'll continue to do those things. So I think that, well, I mean, again, the intention is well, but I think there's a better way to approach this, maybe with a more specific legislative mandate that tells the Senate and the rest of student government that these are the specific things that we can do, instead of simply saying that we support people. As President Rogers mentioned, those people may not even hear our support because they don't know what the Senate is doing. So yeah, like I'm not pro or con, just that's something to consider.
Secretary Schneider.
I agree with Senator Hawk, and I agree with the sponsors of the resolution. I think it's important for us to continue to reiterate our position as an organization. But I also, what Senator Hawk said kind of made me think about how many times we've already addressed immigration as a body and how we haven't really done anything. Like, we just kind of say it over and over again. So, like, I was just looking at the resolution from February 2017 when we passed a resolution after the track ban, and we've just kind of been in lockstep. Like, we've not really done anything new, and I think this could be an opportunity to do something new. And that's why I think we should kind of fine-tune this more, because as it stands now, I don't see what we can do that's new that's coming out of this. I think we could make some sort of mention about how President Burwell is a founding president, member of the President's Alliance on Higher Education and Immigration, and they actually went down to Capitol Hill to lobby lawmakers during this process that's going on right now. So there's things that the university is doing that we're not even doing, and that we're not even recommending that they continue to do. So I think fine-tuning this to reinvigorate our body and our organization to work for these students I think that would be beneficial.
President Dumpson?
Yes, I also kind of wanted to piggyback. I think it's a great idea, and it comes from a very real and valid spot of sincerity and advocacy. And I want to make sure that that's re-emphasized, because I think that everyone that's provided feedback and critiques, everyone recognizes this is a very, very important issue, and I don't want that to get lost in the conversation, I guess, surrounding the language of the bill. I just wanted to kind of read part of President Burwell's September 5th statement, the memo that they released, which said, AU will not disclose private information about our students, faculty, or staff to law enforcement officials unless presented with a warrant, subpoena, or court order, or other legal requirement or authorization by the student. AU police will not act as an agent for or assist the federal government in immigration enforcement actions unless required by law, and that the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, the primary point of contact, will make referrals to financial aid, academic advising, counseling, and other external resources as needed, and will coordinate efforts with key campus stakeholders. So I wanted that part to kind of be reinforced, I guess, just in general, just for everyone in Senate's knowledge. like Chris kind of mentioned, that there are things the university is doing. CDI is the point person for that, like Josh mentioned, which is also very, very key because we, as student government, we're limited, I think, in terms of what we can, I guess, in terms of referring students to legal aid or referring students to financial aid. There's certain things, there are limitations to what we can do legally because we're just not a legal entity, which is some of the issue areas that we touch on when we get into issues or conversations with Case. So we just need to be a little bit careful of how we navigate what we refer students to, which is why Chris has done a really, really good job so far in keeping the website updated in terms of the memorandums and information. So as we get it, we put it up on the website.
Senator Kami.
Thank you for all the points that have been made. They've been really informative. I would just like to say there's really nothing lost in passing a resolution that recognizes and supports AU Dreamers in such trying times and such difficult times and such scary times for people who are in that community. There's really nothing lost. And I would like to also, reiterate, a lot of kids don't know what senators do, but a lot of kids also don't know what admin does or what exec does or what CDI does. These are all just question marks for the average AU student. And as elected representatives, it is our job. It is our job to reiterate what's already been done, to, hammer down and to basically state as seriously as possible that we are here for you. This is us stating this again and again and again and again until you feel as safe as possible. This is us opening up dialogue with different types of AU organizations stating that we're willing to help. This is a terrible, really, really scary time for many communities. It's almost like every single ethnic community in this country is under some sort of bullshit. And there's really nothing lost with just saying that our student government, our Senate, is here to support you. And we're here to open up office hours for you to come and tell us what you'd like to see. And we're here to come and see your club meetings and try to make what your goals are into realities. There's really nothing lost with opening up dialogue.
Senator Pintar?
Thank you so much, Senator, for coming in. Just to bring it up, there are dreamers that commit suicide once their protections are lost because they don't know what to do. So I don't think it hurts to just let them know that they're not alone. And also, I'm not angry leaving or anything. I have to go to chapter, so thank you. I just wanted to say that because I'm not mad or anything. I have to go.
Secretary Schneider.
I think there is something lost by passing this kind of resolution, without committing ourselves to re-energizing our body to do something. I think if we pass this, we're going to get a lot of retweets and we're going to get a lot of Facebook likes in the next 2 days, and we're going to look really good for that amount of time. But if this comes up yet again, then people are already asking what have we done since the last time we talked about this? I asked myself, what have I done since the last time I talked about this? And I think there is something lost when we don't do things after we say words. And if this resolution does not provide us if it doesn't have some sort of new resolve for us as an organization, for you as a Senate and us as an exec board and us as the student representatives of American University to do something new, not saying that we're going to stay in what we're already doing, then I think that there is something lost. We have a reputation, and not just a reputational loss, but that's part of it. And our voice is going to start getting drowned out. People are going to stop paying attention to what we say, and if we don't back up what we say with action, and I think there is something lost.
Senator Kami?
I would actually implore that we would all, show up to some sort of meeting after this and work on the next steps for this resolution. We're actually in the means of producing a bill right now with the support of Lasso and ULAC and also some senators at the Washington College of Law. My own friend, Negin Sadeghi Mohammed, works with me, I think you also know her, in NIAC. And actually, DACA does affect refugees from the Middle East and other parts of the world as well. So this is a very broad-based type of legislation that impacts multiple ethnicities. But let's actually get together and start focusing on a bill after this, which we've already kind of started to establish the works of. I think to delegitimize this simple, very pure effort to be just some sort of bad PR statement is kind of fucked. I'm sorry, I didn't want to say a bad word, but
Watch the language.
sorry, but it's just to like just to assume that there's no actual initiative behind it is belittling the works of people who are trying to reignite a movement. But yeah, please, I really do implore anyone who wants to get on board with advocacy for minority communities on campus, who is on board with the whole diversity, inclusion, and equity concept that we've been talking about since Senate, to come and talk to me, Sophia, and others who are really, really passionate about protecting all students on campus. That is all I'll be saying. Leave it at that.
Legitimacy?
So I know this is a resolution, it doesn't like usually go to committee, but is it possible for us, if not to not pass this, but to move it to a committee so we can actually put actionable things in it or change it so that it's not just, there aren't these issues that are coming up in this debate?
The issues that are being raised are bill worthy, not resolution worthy. And again, as I said to all of you at the beginning of the semester, is that resolution simply recognize, reaffirm opinions or statements, and there's nothing nothing can be forced out of a resolution, but you can follow up with resolutions with additional pieces of legislation. And I think some of the concerns that are coming up are more bill worthy, so trying to add or something to this would change the whole idea of the resolution. Senator O'Connor.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are missing the fact that this is a resolution, and that resolutions, at least the way I view them, are to sort of help spur a conversation, spur greater action in the future. So again, I don't think anyone really disagrees with this resolution and the purpose and intent of it. So I think a lot of discussion that we've had is very useful for potential bill or potential other actions that we want to take. So I don't see why we don't just pass this resolution. And as Senator Kami said, people are already working on another bill. I don't see what's so controversial about that. We're already working on something that will be much more substantive and will be helpful to people in those communities. So I feel like we should try to end the debate on this right now and work on other bills that will have a substantive impact on the issues that they face.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
So what's the motion again?
Move to a vote or end debate.
Okay. There's a motion to close debate. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of closing debate and moving to vote say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay.
Point of order. Did somebody object over there?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we'll be back in debate.
No, we're in debate on closing debate. Since you objected.
Yeah. Can I make a motion to extend the debate for about 2-3 minutes?
Well, we're still in the vote for the closed debate. So this motion would have to fail in order to continue debate. So all those in favor of closing debate, say yay.
Wait, if there's a closing debate, is there a debate about closing debate?
There a debate.
I thought we just voted to close.
Hold on. Here, hold on.
No, we didn't.
Here, while Trevor's getting his book and looking at the rules, why don't you guys tell us what you're doing?
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is going to be passed as is. There are just some minor things that should be changed just to make it DCPD should be MPD, and in one of the whereas clauses, the one that reads restates the university policy, not to permit us, not permit AUPD, just to clean it up a little bit to make it
Okay, so there is no debate on closing debate. So again, all those in favor of closing debate and moving to vote, say yay. All of those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, in the opinion of the chair, the nays have it. We are back in discussion and debate on the bill. Other points of discussion or debate or motion?
Chris, point of order. Can you repeat what you said should be changed?
Yes. So in the fifth whereas clause, fifth whereas clause, not permit us. You might consider having it say not permit American University police. And And then the sixth whereas clause, maintain that Metropolitan Police. And then in the final, therefore be resolved clause, instead of having pushing the university to sue, instead of like suggesting that the university take like legal action, just the wording of it, like seeks to enforce full protection while also pushing the university to protect,
Take the necessary legal action.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a senator making that amendment?
Yeah.
All right, Senator O'Connor. Okay. So pushing the university to take legal action.
Take the necessary legal action.
Take the necessary legal action.
Take the appropriate legal action. Sorry.
Appropriate legal action. Okay. And then what were the other changes instead of DCP you said? NPD. Okay. M, sorry.
Oh, M.
Yes, Metropolitan, you're right. And then there was one before, right?
Instead of permit us, permit American University Police.
Second line.
Second line to the left.
Okay, to permit American University?
American University Police.
Okay. Is there a second on this amendment?
Second.
I hear a second. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of the amendment, which is all in yellow, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. Okay, the amendment carries. Okay. Any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of passing and adopting resolution 17-18-010, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. All right. This resolution is adopted. All right, moving on.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
before we get to old business, can I request a 10-minute recess just for us to stretch?
There's a motion for a 10-minute recess. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. All right, you have 10 minutes.
We are actually, we're not voting back the case thing.
So that's just going to get the story notes in the I would just have other senators, other committee members go to that meeting. I'll make sure that Angela, the chair, and Bobby, who's the vice chair, I'll have them reach out to like the executive board members.
Tomorrow about it. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi.
Like I did not bring clothing with me for my next meeting. Okay, cool.
I knew this was going wrong. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm like leaving, but like I can offer this.
Do you have any extra? I'm gonna take some of the stuff back now, so then all you have to that works, right? So all you have to take back the. Which number do you want? 1, 2, and was it? Yeah.
But tell me about some fun things.
No, so I have, you know, your fun time working out. 7, no, you go with that?
Wow, like I didn't expect. That's what I can say because all I know, all I think about when I think about.
Buddy, fly home. I will.
Orange is the black. really great. Media. Oh, God, my legs are
But and then when you saw it, you're like, wait, things are different. It's like, oh.
Right.
Cool.
I love having
Go into the chapel.
Yeah, it's fun, right?
Wait, I'm still in your seat.
I love it.
the chapel.
Right?
Dude, it's my
Yeah.
sorry.
Wall Street.
Yeah.
Okay, we heard from them at the end because they're doing the drill.
I told my mom I'm gonna wear them every time.
Bye. I love
I love it.
I think I have the flu and I need now I'm down. I'm on day 13 of no sleep and being here day and night.
No sleep?
No sleep.
No sleep?
Did you do sort of?
Oh, fuck,
So-
you really have no sleep.
Yeah.
You go to the hospital if you had no sleep.
I'm fine. Goodbye. If anything, your temperature. If anything goes down, I'll text you. Shoot me a text. Yep. Share number. Don't forget that part. No, Chris. No.
How are you feeling?
Does that explain enough?
Big mood. Big mood, little mood, bad mood, my life hurts.
Okay.
Go. Thank you.
No
Sorry.
I still can't believe Sean even came here. He was like, almost
Oh, is
not
this still
mine.
It's not even an old business. Okay.
No, you shouldn't. I don't know how to turn it
No,
back on.
it's like-
I don't know how to work it.
I don't think you can pause it either.
The phone autocorrects Chris to cross.
Sometimes it makes it Christ when I do it. Even when I try and type your name after typing Chris, I'm still both your names
There's a couple people leaving now. And
Are you gonna have one?
I don't know. We're on the verge of not having.
Honestly, this is just about creating action steps. Not But seems like we need to send out a directory again.
Yeah.
I can just all update it.
Probably a good idea.
The one I sent you.
Yeah.
And just send it to everyone, like, so this is what the branches do, this is what they do, this is what they oversee, is it supposed to be green or is it supposed to be blue?
This one's green.
Okay. Just wanna make sure you get that covered.
You remind me? Yeah, it's with the Missile Defense Advocacy
Yeah.
Alliance.
I could send it out.
Yeah.
Can I send that?
You probably could.
Should I sleep?
Probably.
Thank you then.
No, but basically just do research. I mean, it's obviously it's an advocacy group for missile defense systems. And, so on my first day, they just like went over the basics with me. I mean, I already know a ton about it, like just the basic information about ballistic missile defense, and then we worked on finishing a report that they've started on last semester. And I don't know, it's really cool. Like there are going to be times when like I have to go to events and like committee hearings and stuff and take notes. So
That's such a good opportunity. That's wonderful.
yeah.
Good for you, Sarah.
Thank you.
I'm interning with John. I don't know if you heard John.
First meeting back.
I caught up on all my sleepover break and now it's just gonna.
Yeah, right. It's
go.
That's kind of entry level.
Yeah. Especially since you're going to be, it's on a national level.
Well, you get to see the kind of the foundations that national campaign built, which is
Yeah, do you want them? Like, where'd you get food from? Like, me too. I had leftover steak and egg for breakfast.
Do you have like an office in Maryland or is it
East Campus
His
fun.
office is
I
in
did it my first
No, I
visit.
really think it is. But I think he does have like
I love steak and egg. Okay.
Bobby, how's the show me stage?
It's cold.
Oh, that's cool. Camera can see
So
me.
I was there.
I can't. Oh, I think you can see me. Easier, yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
That was your birthday?
It was my birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday.
The time I looked up coming up. Now that's crazy. Oh, that's it.
That's what I'm saying. They're crazy. And I was like, I'm gonna be celebrating birthday behavior until we nail salon.
What's your birthday?
Birthday behavior.
What comes after? Icy?
Where?
Yes.
Those are us to fucking solve it.
Oh, the emotional.
They had like a snowstorm.
Yeah, we got like,
Oh.
just like, back in town.
It was literally, there was a day where it was like above 80 degrees.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. Just wait.
That's just real.
No, I thought it was gonna work out.
No, like the day I left, I was just like, this is so weird. Like, I'm going through this, like summer weather, and then like 6 hours from now, and like ice. But it's actually been warming up. Like yesterday was pretty warm.
Yeah, today too.
Yeah, like it's 61.
I'll probably get cold again.
It's called supper instead of super.
Have separate group.
Yeah.
Cover. How's Ohio?
Fine. It was nice being back for a little bit, and then I wanted to get out of there.
That's cool. Classes going well?
What?
Classes are going well?
Yeah, I mean, I have Tuesday, Friday off this semester, so it's nice. But
Not. There's like two girls I think who also go consumer solutions.
If you no, like right now, it takes so many. It literally takes. It's less than 2 minutes. It's like is your name
Oh, that's fine. But you've seen that, and you'll talk about it in committee probably.
I need to email
I was like, I don't see the issues. Like, you're like, oh, I've been talking to Will.
Because I did something or whatever.
I just need, because I need them to know that like, although it says my agendas are incomplete, they're gonna be filled by honors at the end of the season.
With minors and my internship.
Oh,
Yeah, because they get you off with it. Just say I'm going to quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's necessary to put names and email addresses for all these? Like I'm gonna color coordinate it.
I'm gonna coordinate, I told you this.
Do I need to make it like a? I'm trying to figure out how to make it the most easily, easy to simple kind of thing. Like this makes sense. Like, do I need to put all these things, like what they actually do? It doesn't seem to be fleshed out.
But at the same time,
I think it would have hurt, but I wouldn't add if it's like
Thank you. Yes, for my birthday now. She's like a coat of like silver, and I was like, okay, so I want like big plastic specks, like big plastic glitters, and I didn't know how to describe that. And then she found it, and they were kind of like dragon eggs.
Yeah, I can see that.
My dragon egg fingernails. Cool. So just do that. Yep. Cool.
I was talking to
Thank you so much. That was very helpful.
I've talking through with people, like, I've seen the functions. I don't think you said that. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Thank you.
It's not real cheesecake.
It's
Does
a nice
everyone-
cake. Yeah, it is. Mine is different. I bought them though. My stickers.
Although when I
I think some people left.
I like the way it feels.
Yeah.
My computer's gonna die too.
All right, we are back in session. I'm going to start with the roll. Senator Akami,
Here.
Senator Pintar, Senator Hawk,
Here.
Senator Hanash,
Here by proxy.
Senator Dantzler,
Here.
Senator Burgess,
Here.
Senator Meacham, Senator Chen,
Here.
Senator Adams,
Here.
Senator Polinsky,
Here.
Senator Najafi, Senator Koshvin, Senator Fryer, Senator Kenna,
Here.
Senator Martine,
Here.
Senator Morrow, Senator Mejia, Senator Zitzman,
Here.
Senator O'Connor, Senator Nayar,
Here.
Senator Beaton, Senator Al Jaber, Senator Howard, Senator Legitimacy,
Here.
Senator Agdepa.
Here.
Okay, we're good. We have quorum. With 5, 10, 15, 19. With 14 senators present out of 25. Okay. Okay, moving on, or is there any, I guess I should, any other new business? Okay. Moving to old business. The clerk will read the legislation by name and title.
Policy Book 17-18-003, a policy book for new ethical and judicial standards.
Okay. So hopefully now that we've had this document for a while, you've been able to read over it. There were a lot of changes and a lot of additions made to it by the comptroller. And then it was also briefly amended by the Committee on Rules and Privileges. So now it's in full Senate again. I guess since there is no direct sponsor, are there any points of discussion or debate on the legislation? Seeing none. We will move to vote on the legislation. All of those in favor of adopting the new policy book for policy book for the new ethical and judicial standards, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Policy book is adopted. Cool. Moving on to the next business item, the clerk will read the legislation by name and title.
Resolution 17-18-005, a resolution to urge American University to retract Aung San Suu Kyi's honorary Doctor of Laws degree.
Would the sponsor like to talk on or present the bill?
Not really. It's pretty self-explanatory. Don't support genocide.
Okay. Any questions for the sponsor? Senator Hanash's proxy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My only question is if you would reach out to Professor Tom Radican, who has for years traveled to Myanmar and alternative break trips, just to see what he would think about doing this and what sorts of opinions he has on the issue.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Actually, yeah, that sounds really interesting.
Other questions for the sponsor? All right. Seeing none, we'll move into a period of debate and discussion. Any points of debate or discussion on the bill or resolution? Seeing none, We'll move to vote on the resolution. All those in favor of adopting resolution 17-18-005, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. Resolution is adopted. Moving on to the next business item, the clerk will read the legislation by name and title.
Resolution 17-18-006, a resolution to support the implementation of a student ride program.
This one. Would the sponsor like to speak on the bill resolution?
Okay, so this resolution is basically describing a student ride program. A lot of other universities have this, like the title is very self-explanatory, but basically the AU shuttles stop running at a certain time, the metro stops running at a certain time, and a lot of people are still off campus during those times, and a lot of AU students don't live on campus, don't have to get back to the dorm halls, but they do need a way of having a safe ride back home. For example, UVA does it, GW does it, Ohio State, USC has a really, really big rideshare program, but basically the purpose of the resolution is to encourage the administration to partner with a third-party ride program like Lyft or Uber, or like GW doesn't do it with Lyft or Uber, they have like a smaller, more local one, basically to provide students the opportunity to have a safe, affordable ride home, either back to campus or back to their place of residence.
Any questions for the sponsor? Senator, bless you. Senator Depa.
I actually have just a question for Senator Chen about the third party on the rideshare, because I understand like American University has a student advantage, which means discounts or the use of Uber, and if that would change the student advantage at all, or if that would be included with this program.
The purpose with what I wrote, it wouldn't change the student advantage at all. It's not supposed to get rid of anything and replace it. I was imagining more something like for example, like a lot of the universities have it where you can like put your ride, it's first at a discounted fee, and then you can put it in a tab, so you don't have to pay right then and there. Like if you're in trouble and you need to get home now, or you're just not sober, you're intoxicated, whatever, you need to get home now, then you can put the cost of that ride in the tab, and you can pay it like with your tuition at the end of the semester or whatever it may be.
Senator Zitzman.
You mentioned in one of the whereas clauses our university safe ride program, which for those who don't know is if you're out, you can call this number and a taxi will be sent to you, and then the taxi will bring you back to AU's campus, and public safety they take you to public safety, and public safety will pay for the taxi then, and then you pay for it back later, just the way you were describing it at other schools. So my question is, why would we need a second program of that nature?
For sure. Yeah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding of the University Safe Ride program is that it only takes you back to campus, like if you live on campus. And I wrote the resolution because I know like a lot of upperclassmen especially don't live on campus, either on East Campus or Hughes or whatever. Like a lot of people live in apartments, and partnering with a third-party rideshare program just gives students more options in terms of where they need to go.
Other questions for the sponsor? President Rogers?
Yeah, have you talked to anyone in the Transportation Advisory Committee about any of this? Or like anyone in the university?
I personally have not.
Okay. Because I know that this is something, I was part of a Safe Ride focus group last semester, and so these are the kind of issues that we were working on. And I know the focus group proposed something very similar to this, and the Transportation Advisory Committee was against it for a variety of reasons. And so I think working with administrators to see, where there is wiggle room on what they would want to pursue and what we as students need would be good. So again, this being a resolution, my recommendation is just make sure that, you all as a Senate student government follow through on what is proposed in the resolution by setting up meetings with people who can actually make a real difference on the campus.
Absolutely.
Senator Dantzler?
I know Senator Sitzman mentioned AU's already existed ride share or safe route program with the question of why do we need another one? And if it does go off campus, I just did some research, and it serves students in a 10-mile radius. So if you live within 10 miles from campus, then you are good. So just to bring that point up.
President Dumpson.
Yes, I just wanted to kind of give you just a point of reference. Later today, I'm going to be sending out an email, hopefully today, of a chain of command for the universities, just overall departments. They have basically a chart that doesn't make any sense. And over the summer, I had drafted up into a vertical chart that basically says who does what. So like how the board of trustees supervises the president and what the president supervises and what that layout looks like. So it's got who the point person is for risk management and transportation, or risk safety and transportation. So it's got that person and their contact information, so you can see how the departments work together, which I guess would be a better resource for you all, because it's really difficult to navigate the AU website. So that's just something I wanted to let you all know. But I'll send that out today, so that you all have access to who those people are that are in those kinds of conversations.
Other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move to debate. Any points of debate or discussion on the resolution? Senator Agdeppa.
I think the difference is what Senator Chen is proposing and what we currently have of the AU rideshare program is, under my understanding is that the AU rideshare program uses taxis, and I know the pricing between taxis and actual rideshare, Uber and Lyft, are very different. And I do think that under Senator Chen's program, it would allow students to have a better financial choice, and that would be much cheaper than an actual taxi. And I think that's what the real focus of the resolution is.
Other points of debate or discussion? Senator Kenna.
Well, one of the things that I'm confused about with regard to this, and maybe clarification can be provided, is if the current program that public safety has is that you call them and they'll send you a taxi, that means that they can verify that you're in a situation where this is necessary. Whereas like if you have the rideshare app on your phone and are ordering it to come back to campus and then like pay that, like AU will pay it or put it on a tab or something, how is there that accountability that students won't misuse that? Is where I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, for sure. So the way that most universities have set up is that it's only valid between certain hours of night, right? So it would be from, for example, 10 to 4 a.m. or 10 to 5 a.m. So that way, like, you wouldn't have people using it to like go grocery shopping or whatever. It's like only kids who like have gone out and like done to get back. And like part of like me personally, like I think the issue with the unpopularity of the university rideshare program is like this is like kind of issue of like, oh, like if I am under the influence, like obviously like it is comfortable, but like do I really want to be using like a university program necessarily to have them come like call a taxi for me and like, pick me up from like maybe possibly an over 21 club or whatever, right? You know what I mean? Like I think the rideshare program for a lot of students at other university gives them the sense of like, oh, like I'm calling it from my own phone. Like, no one's necessarily gonna know like where I'm coming from, where I'm going, like my current state. Like this is just so I get home safely.
Other points of debate or discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of adopting resolution 1718-006, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. All right, this resolution is adopted. All right, moving on to next business item. The clerk will read the legislation by name and title.
Resolution 17-18-007, a resolution to promote and publicize AUSG branches, departments, councils, and members.
All right, would the sponsor like to speak on this?
Sure, I'll make it brief. I worked with Ryan Bardo on this resolution. He had reached out to me looking for the support of the Senate as he works with Secretary Schneider to make this directory so it'll make just communication between AUSG members a lot easier and more accessible for the public too. So all this is doing pretty much is supporting his directory that he's created and the one that Secretary Schneider is also working on, which will just make it easier and hopefully help out the process when looking to reach out to somebody else in SG, reaching across departments, which we all sometimes struggle to do. So I think this will make it easier.
Any questions for the sponsor? Senator Zitzman?
Yeah, I know Secretary left and Ryan's not here. So do you, or maybe anyone else know what the progress on this is? Because over before break, I remember there's this one, which is supposed to be the nice looking one that has like the top of every part of student government. And then there's going to be what Chris described as the ugly version. That's going to be a big list of everybody. So does anybody know how that's going?
I just know that this one is pretty much completed. And I know that Chris is still working on the master list, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure anything beyond that.
Other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move to a period of debate. Any points of discussion or debate on the resolution? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of adopting resolution 17-18007 say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Resolution is adopted. All right, moving on to the next line item. The clerk will read the legislation by name and title.
Bill 17-18-002, a bill to establish a mental health survey.
The 002 or 003?
002.
Okay. Would the sponsor like to speak on the bill?
Sure. So, I mean, there's not much to say because we covered this, when we did the first reading and we debated it pretty extensively. But there were some amendments. I know that the Student Rights and Services Committee added on to it, so hopefully everyone's looked at them. They were just trying to make it more coherent, but other than that, I mean, it's the same as it was.
Cool. Any questions for the sponsor? All right, seeing none, we'll move into a period of debate. Any points of discussion or debate on the bill? Senator Zitzman?
I remember we heard a little bit from the executives when we heard about this in the questioning time of first reading. But now that it's amended, looks like we have two executives here. Do you guys have any thoughts on this, since this would be pretty much given to you once we pass it?
Yeah, so the first question I have is, who specifically in student government is going to be conducting / creating the survey? Would that be underneath the Christine?
For HR?
For HR, yeah. Who's going to be conducting the survey specifically? Would that need to be someone that is in my cabinet?
Does the data collection need to be approved by the university?
Next. I was just reading back through it, actually. Are there any faculty members specifically or health professionals specifically besides the counseling center that we would need to get authorization / approval from when creating the survey? I don't think that as like seniors and people that are in college, I don't think that we're the most qualified to create the questions necessary to get the most out of this information.
Thank you. Yes, Senator Hawk.
So, okay, I'm going to try to go backwards because I don't have any questions, but what was the last question you asked?
The last question was more so like if there's anyone specifically that we should be working with in order to draft the question specifically.
Okay, so I think in general, and this is kind of a departure from what I said when we did the first reading, because after I met with the counseling center, they explained how the way that they conduct surveys is a lot more complex, and it's geared towards a different goal. And obviously those results are reserved for the people who administer the survey, so we don't have access to them. So after that meeting, my thought kind of shifted to having this be a survey that kind of, is still about mental health, but more about like what students kind of want student government to do about it, that they think that we would do better than the counseling center, that they think we could do that the counseling center can't. And then, so you asked what like faculty would be doing it?
Yes, if there's a person that's in faculty or staff that we should consult in order to draft the questions.
Right.
That are better prepared and educated with the kinds of questions that are needed to gather this kind of empirical piece.
Yeah, so I think that would probably be the counseling center, because they do have already a very, again, like this very, very extensive survey that's a lot more detailed and with the confidential answers and analytics and everything. They are open, because I asked them, they said they're open to having more meetings about the development and implementation of this, and just working with student government as a whole to, put out what they want to do. And so they would be able to work with this. And then, I think they'd probably be the best department for that.
Okay, and I guess my other question was specifically, with this becoming, like, who specifically would be tasked with meeting with us? Would this be underneath my cabinet, or would that be a specific committee within Senate?
Would it be under HR, under my cabinet? We're just wondering, like,
right.
when they get, when it gets.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know the intricacies of the executive board, so I think that it'd probably be best if, the president and you were to decide who you think is most capable within your cabinet to execute that.
Any other points of debate or discussion on the bill? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All right, all those in favor of adopting Bill 1718-002, a bill to establish a mental health survey, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. All right, bill's adopted. All right, moving on to the next line item. The clerk will report the legislation by name and title.
Bill 17-18-004, a bill to serve halal at TDR.
Would the sponsors like to speak on the bill?
This has basically been in works since the formation of the 13th Senate. It is highly requested upon the student body, the Muslim community. Really, I would just hope that everyone would pass this. But we've been basically talking about this for a very long time. I know that TDR now serves halal chicken, and that's awesome. But we want to move to basically have more options for students who are on a halal diet. And I would really, really hope that Senate could just pass this and we can go forth with our mission to diversify food options on campus and cater towards all minorities and students. Not have anyone feel left out.
Any questions? President Rogers?
Sure. I haven't looked at this, but could you just summarize how this addresses that problem? Like what are the steps in the bill that will actually lead to getting halal in TDR?
Yeah, sure. So if I'll walk over so you can also specifically see some of the stuff. I don't know if it's moving, but I think so what specifically is done, and for everyone else who's on their laptops or would like to be looking at the projector, might just make it easier. We have around 3 different sections, and specifically in the 3rd section, which says enactment, Part C, basically lays out a timeline of when we would like to be seeing halal brought into TDR tavern, and then we have a option for administration to kind of take into consideration if deemed necessary, which is to bring, and this is by the way highly looked upon by MSA, to bring food trucks onto campus to be serving halal food for students if this timeline is delayed by any chance, which is a big plus in my opinion. The second, I'm just going kind of out of order. The second section is advocacy goals, which basically discusses different universities that have implemented halal in their cafeterias, and one notably is Georgetown University. If anyone's kept up with the AUSG politics of Georgetown, not too long ago, they elected their first Muslim AUSG president, and one of her key goals was to bring halal to Georgetown, and she successfully did so. So what Aramark Corporation currently offers is halal, and not a lot of students are aware of that, largely because AU really doesn't do the greatest job of really being transparent about what services, what foods are actually offered. So what we're basically asking is that Aramark brings in halal food, and they have a variety of different types, and kind of introduces that slowly to TDR and trains staff to know how to handle halal food for Muslim students to be able to, obtain and access these available, dining options. The third, beef is basically what taps into that. This eliminates financial burdens, which is subsection C on section 2, which basically mentions that students who are on a halal diet are faced with a lot of, obviously, financial burdens of having to pay out of pocket. It is estimated, MSA did a research analysis that it is estimated that students pay up to $350 per month to be able to eat halal, or literally to eat, which is really unfortunate. And that's even more unfortunate is because we all have to pay for a meal plan, so are they, and they don't even get the options we do. It's, I don't know, kind of unfortunate. And then D is basically saying to avoid cross-contamination, we need to provide labels to basically inform AU students on what types of food there are. This also includes the kosher section, which is already available in the dining centers. And going up to section 1 is just elaborates on how we need to be promoting an inclusive meal plan, an intersectional meal plan, which basically talks about the different kinds of food options that are available for all different students, and the necessity of promoting a student's right to obtain a meal. So, yeah. If you would like, you could just look through it. Perfect.
Thank you.
For sure.
Question?
Yeah, point of inquiry to the chair, actually. Is this the updated one that went through committee?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
Is it?
Nancy, can
I don't specifically remember every amendment that we made, but I'm almost positive that we took out the part with the student trustee because she doesn't.
Yeah, I remember that. That was in our last.
I don't remember every.
And the vouchers also were taken out.
Pretty positive.
No, the vouchers we technically made it on.
If I remember correctly, now that Nancy has reminded me, you guys talked about it, but you left it for full Senate to consider. And that's why, because I wouldn't have marked it, I think, as, amended by the Committee on Campus and Student Life if it wasn't changed or whatever. So if you want to remove it now, go for it, or talk about it now. But unless there's something that you definitely know that was changed.
I think the document that you attached in our email is the one that's not amended, because I don't have that.
Yeah, this one doesn't, the one that we have doesn't say that it was amended by the committee.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, I think we just have a different one.
Whoops.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't say that.
My bad.
Can you email that one out?
Which sections are we looking at?
The trustee, which is the first.
Yeah.
You got to give me specific sections.
Yeah, section 1, subsection A, paragraph 1.
Yeah.
So this one.
That no longer refers to the trustee.
Yeah, so it doesn't, yeah. Okay, so okay. This is the right, I do have the right one here. I send that one out to you guys, unfortunately. If you want me to send out the new document real quick, I can.
Yeah. I also want to see if anything's actually done about the bachelor's.
This is 4004. Okay. Double check that, make sure. As long as it says as amended by at the top, then I have your changes.
Yeah.
Let me know if someone gets it. Maybe I'll try faster.
Yeah, we changed that part, but then like the voucher part, we didn't, well, I understand, we didn't want to change it.
Okay, try that one.
There we go.
Second, thank you, Trevor.
Make sure that's the right one.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's different.
Okay, so yeah, the student trustee issue was changed, and that's changed on here. And then you kept.
We kept the voucher on one side.
But we do definitely want to talk about it.
Okay. Okay. Are there any further questions for the sponsor at the moment? Senator Noxious Proxy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would just hope that my question would be that there's been the accurate consultation with representatives of TDR to make sure that this can be implemented at the facilities. They have that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's almost like on its way. Really, this bill is just, it's just to further, prove a point that halal needs to be in any sort of food vendor on campus. So yeah, a lot of, TDR workers are being informed on how to use halal, or how to handle halal food. I talked to the director of dining, maybe that's her title, I'm not entirely sure. And she is educating herself on halal, and she's super on board with this idea. We just need to be able to pass this in Senate.
Okay, any further questions?
Yeah.
All right, seeing none, we'll move to a period of debate and discussion. Any points of debate or discussion? Senator Polinsky.
So the problem that I had when we went through this during the second reading in committee was Part C, just the whole part with the voucher program. It's very vague, the wording of it, which was my problem, and that it leaves a lot of room for interpretation. I'm worried that it either won't be implemented, or that if it's implemented, it'll be implemented in the wrong way from its meaning. It specifically says to alleviate this problem, a voucher program can be established. And that just seems like very vague wording. So if you want to address that, or if not, I was thinking about putting an amendment up.
Yeah, I think we discussed to probably remove that part. We can also, I think a suggestion that came up, this bill has obviously been in Senate for a very long time. An idea that came up, I think a few months back, was to open up a halal option for Eagle Bucks instead of a voucher program. You know how you can use Eagle Bucks off campus? Well, if we can find a restaurant, which I think Senator Zitzman brought to my attention, that Cafe Olay serves halal options for students to be able to go off campus and eat off campus too. That would be probably a better idea than a voucher program. I don't know, whatever people think.
Senator Zitzman.
Yeah, I think that this approach that Senators Polinsky and Hakami were talking about is good, a good strategy, because this bill it's got a lot of information. So I think if we can provide the university, if somebody at the university ends up looking at this bill with something like concrete, like here, Eagle Bucks at Cafe Olay, that's something that they can grab onto and pursue.
Senator Polinsky.
I'd like to make a motion to make an amendment striking or changing paragraph 1, strike the entire thing, and have it changed to AUSG will work
under
section C.
Okay.
Just change all of 1 to AUSG will work to find restaurants that will accept Eagle Bucks that serve halal food. And then just get rid of the full voucher.
Just that?
Yeah.
I think that's what it's Eagle Bucks, right? Or is the B capital?
Yeah.
So just like for wording, like I think it would be better to put that serve halal food right after the restaurant, so it, does that make sense?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
All right, so we'll work to find restaurants that serve
Just a question about
or
that.
food options that will accept Eagle Bucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Inquiry, yes. Is it inquiry? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of AUSG, I feel like that's a little vague. Is it going to be AUSG Undergraduate Senate? Is it going to be like what part of AUSG? Just so I can be aware if I need to do research on that.
Do you wish to?
I don't really care where it is. I don't have a specific preference, so I'd like to hear other people's opinions during debate in order to make a decision.
Okay, so this is the current wording of the new section C. Is there a second? There's a second. Discussion on the amendment. Senator Zitzman.
Regarding which part of student government would do it, as far as I can see, it's among the executives, it's certainly not the comptroller, the secretary, or the vice president, so it would be the president. So we have to decide whether we want this to be something that the office of the president does, or like some people in the Senate, kind of a more dispersed effort.
Yeah, so what Senator Zitzman is saying is either we could pass this part on to the executive board, or which would probably be looked more highly favorably upon, is just keeping it within the Senate and just having designated Senate people to do it. So, Senator Chen?
This is a question. Does anyone know if there's like a number of halal food options like in Tenleytown that are close by?
Is Munchies halal?
Because I just feel like I don't think it would be fair to do this in replacement of the vouchers if there are no good halal food options that are close by, because then we're just like having Muslim students go like pretty far off campus to use their Eagle, like which just seems also unfair.
Other points of debate on this amendment? President Rogers.
So I think part of the point is that we don't know what the options are and how far away they are. So designating a group of people specifically to see where those restaurants might be and see what the process would be to get them to accept Eagle Bucks would be good. And so my recommendation would be assigning a certain committee within the Senate to have that responsibility. So it stays sort of in the Senate and you're not passing this on to somebody else so that you can see the project through from beginning to end.
Senator Burgess.
I'm going to agree with President Rogers. I think also for this amendment, we should even, with the help of the relationship that Senator Hakami has with the Muslim Student Association, to work in accordance with them on locations that they know of that are near AU as food options that can provide and might be willing to have AU students use Eagle Bucks there.
Senator Adams.
Could there be like a commission created for this task?
A commission could be created. I think that just keeping it as in one of the committees already there is also fine. It's up to the Senate to decide. Senator Hakami?
Side note, Munchies does actually offer halal meat. They're a Lebanese food place. They do. So that's just one option.
They don't take Eagle Bucks, right?
They don't. That should be
Okay.
a full addition.
Senator Zitzman.
Yeah, we've talked about reasons to have the Senate do this, in that like you wouldn't want to pass it along to someone else, I think has been the main reason given. I'll just point out that one reason to have the president or the president's office do this is that the Senate goes away over the summer. So if that is a critical time for this advocacy, not to have that big break in the middle and then a whole bunch of new people pick up the project, that's something that we should consider as well.
President Dumpson?
Yes, so the only feedback I have on that is that a good deal of the people that are currently on my cabinet, like obviously there's gonna be an election in the spring, but the good deal of people that are currently on my cabinet are people that are graduating. If people are graduating, they're the only people that are really, really looking and doing the research, because I understand that like Senator Hakami's like busted her tail to like get this bill like to this point. I don't want the institutionalized memory to go away when I graduate, because if I know the ins and outs of this and then another person I have to explain the ins and outs again to, like I'm not going to be here and the rest of my cabinet's not going to be here. The cabinet same structure might change for the next president. So there's no guarantee. I guess that's what my overall thing is when I'm looking through bills to ask specifically like, who's going to be doing what and where the designees are coming from. It's recognizing that I'm graduating in 3 months. 4 months, four. That's cool. Look, I'm excited. So, you know, the end is near, and I don't want this bill to just disappear when my cabinet disappears. So I think it needs to be in Senate specifically. I'm just looking at where the bills in the future are going to be coming out of. Like when it comes to research, I think it's more efficient for the undergraduate Senate and specific peoples within committees and for the sponsors of the bills to do that research prior to it getting passed to me to do the rest of the research and for my cabinet, because it's not fair for us to utilize the majority of our time when we also have our own projects that we're working on, specifically within our cabinet for the semester that have already been set, to not know, you know what I mean, for that to be tossed on to us, because depending on the size of the cabinet, presidents get to choose. My cabinet right now is 5 people, and then myself and then my chief of staff. So I just don't think that's the most efficient use of our time.
I will note that the only position that goes from, the end of last year through next year is the speakership. So if you're looking for continuity, then that is also an option to consider. Senator Polinsky.
I'd like to amend the amendment to make it say the AUSG Undergraduate Senate will work to find restaurants. And can I just make a comment off of that?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good that we just leave it up to the whole undergraduate senate, because then we can have Speaker Pugh work on it over the summer, and whoever wants to work on it, committees, whatever, there's a bunch of committees this could fit under, can also work on expanding halal food into and making it more accessible. So I just like it this way.
Is there a second to this amendment?
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion on the blue part of the amendment? Seeing none, we'll move to vote on the blue. All those in favor of adopting the new wording, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. Okay, this is adopted. Okay, now back to the amendment as a whole. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to vote on the amendment as a whole. All those in favor of adopting the new wording, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. Okay. This amendment passes. Okay. Any further discussion on the bill as a whole? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of adopting Bill 1718-004 and its current wording, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. Fantastic. Y'all can clap when you pass legislation. Like, give yourself a pat on the back or something. I don't know if it's just because we've been here forever that y'all are dead or something, but
Oh my god, we've been there for a long time, so we've noticed from there.
I don't know.
Long
Okay.
Senate meeting.
Hey, Christine, can you add no sass to the all right, moving on to the final piece of legislation and business. The clerk will read the legislation by name and title.
Bill 17-18-007, a bill to mandate weekly office hours for the Senate Directors of Communication.
All right, would the sponsor like to speak on the bill?
Very brief.
Okay, go for it.
It's legit a sentence. All I want to say is the bill is pretty self-explanatory, and I appreciate that it passed through committee as well.
All right, any questions for the sponsor? Senator Zitzman.
So right now, we have in place, even though it's not enforced, bi-weekly office hours for each of the Senate Directors of Communication, averaging out to 1 director office hours for every week. I'm just wondering, what is the additional merit that we add by having 2 director office hours every week?
Because the 2 directors both kind of operate in 2 separate, although they still follow under like Senate Director of Communication, they kind of have 2 separate roles of held. I think having 2 separate office hours where they kind of can designate it to do the work of what they have to do, I think is more official and beneficial to AUSG Senate and then AUSG as a whole.
Senator Polinsky.
I guess my question's 2 parts, but the first part is I've talked to Sarah a lot, and I know she does a lot of the work remotely, and she doesn't need to be at the Senate office. So why would someone need to be at the Senate office in order to do communications work? And then the second part is, have you reached out to either of the communications directors and seeing if they think that this is gonna be too much and if they think it's not gonna be useful.
Well, I have reached out, I know, to Lucas Anderton, and he didn't really have a much of an issue with this. I thought, the reason of the core structure of what I wanted to write this bill is because previous Senates have had it, but it wasn't implemented per se. And it really was just to have like a designated 1 hour for them, like outside of schoolwork, just to do Senate stuff. And then also this bill, I think, shouldn't limit them to being so much in the Senate office room, but also have just like Senate roaming office hours. So if it's not clear in there, I am open to an amendment of some sort to say where they can have roaming office hours.
Senator Adams?
So I co-sponsored this bill, and basically also it's just kind of helpful sometimes if you need to talk to them, like if you need to talk to one of the communication directors about like something on the website or something of that matter. It's just like if you know like a designated time that you can go in, it's just like kind of more helpful than reaching out over email and then waiting for a response.
Senator Zitzman?
This is a question for you. Can you describe for us what kind of work these directors do, because they're working under you?
Yeah, so I know like for like Sarah's position, the communications director of transparency, just working a lot with making sure that everything's publicized, everything's out in the open, making sure that I know we're working on trying to get town hall set up and like the live stream town halls, and we're working on like social media campaigns, trying to increase our following and our outreach. And in terms of what Lucas is doing for information management, he's taking all the information that you guys send me, especially with your bios, anything doing with the website. He's helping Brian Food, who's working in Secretary Schneider's cabinet, update the website, and we're going to try and implement new projects to expand Senate section of the website. So I'm getting them to do a decent amount of work. So yeah, if that answers your question. Any further questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we'll move to period of debate. Yeah, Senator Polinsky.
I just don't see the point of this. They're meeting already once every 2 weeks, and I just think I just see that they're not gonna utilize these office hours as much as you're thinking they are. A lot of the work that Sarah does, I know talking to her, and if I can later, I'd like to give her speaking rights if she wants it on this period of debate, is that a lot of it's remote and a lot of it's quick tweets or something like that, just working online, and she doesn't need an hour designated each week out of her already busy life. And I'm sure Lucas Anderton might feel the same way, that a lot of his website work is done 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. And the point of office hours is for the constituency to reach out to them, not for them to have to sit there and do work for an hour. And so I'm just not seeing the point of that. Maybe you could just talk a little bit upon that.
I mean,
Yeah, can I speak about this?
Someone has to.
Can I yield my speaking rights to Sarah?
No, you have to make a motion to.
Okay.
Senator Legitimacy? Okay, there's a motion to give Sarah speaking rights. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay.
Okay, sweet. So I'm actually currently signed up for office hours on Thursdays 3 to 4. And just to repeat kind of what Andrew said, most of the work I do is like here and there because I have to post certain things. But I am more than happy to meet with you guys and work with certain things. Like you can come and see like what I'm planning on posting. I showed Trevor, I have the next like 3.5 months like planned out day by day. So yeah, and I can work with you to help publicize some of what you're doing and things like that. But I'm more than happy to have office hours once a week, or even if that 3 to 4 on Thursdays doesn't work with either of you, you can meet with me separately, like we can work something out. So I'm just putting that out there. Yeah.
So you said you had office hours 3 to 4. Is that like following the bi-weekly thing, or is that weekly?
It's weekly.
Then that's like just what, there's no change with.
Yeah, so I don't know how that affects
I don't
Lucas,
think-
but
yeah.
I'm fine with it being weekly. My schedule's the same every week, so that's fine with me. So.
I think the reason why I wrote this because I know you already had standard like once a week, but previous like legislation in the Senate had it as a bi-weekly. So just changing the language of what it is to just weekly as going forward.
Other points of debate or discussion on the bill? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of adopting Bill 1718-007, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. Bill's adopted. All right. They'll get there. All right. Cool. We'll move on to our second period of public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll move to good of the order. Any executive good of the order?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that everyone's doing a really good job, and everyone is obviously very, very passionate about the work that they're doing, and I don't want that to be overlooked. I think something that I talked to Trevor about earlier this week was really just trying to, I guess, make myself more accessible. A lot of you all don't talk to me, and that's not any like problem of your own. I'm also interning 3 days a week this semester. So a lot of my office hours will be on the weekends and will be on Mondays. If the door is open and like I'm in there, like come on in. Like I don't fight, I swear I don't. Like I'll play music, like we just like jam out. And a lot of the ideas that you all have, I have resources that like you all can use that are going to be helpful. And I'm just kind of like emphasizing that for point of institutionalized memory, because again, like I'm graduating and I don't think, so for the next student government caveat and just in general, like I'm not going to be in campus to be able to be a resource like a lot of other SU presidents have been when they become president, for example. So if you all have like any questions or points of like legislation you want to talk about before it gets to the point, because I don't like to come to Senate meetings and like red line everything, like, oh, this is wrong, or this, like, let's change this. It's just because they haven't been brought to my attention prior. So like, I love being able to see the work that you all are passionate about. I just ask that in terms of bills and projects you all are working on that you might have questions on, or you might think that I'm going to have questions on when it gets to Senate, you all just kind of bring it to me beforehand so we don't have to do this here on the live stream.
Yes, Christine.
And then as we rapidly approach into this semester, be forewarned, we're going to set the budget for next year for SG, for Budget Advisory Committee, which me and Senator Huck will both be sitting on. So feel free to reach out to the Finance Committee. It's really important so that you all know, hey, maybe Senate needs more money, needs less money, this department might need more money, less money, allocation, things like that. We're very open to that. So yeah, let me know if you ever need anything from me. I'm pretty accessible. Email, Facebook Messenger. If you want to add me on Slack, I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. Yeah, if you see me, you feel free to say hi. I'm usually in the bridge. It's kind of like my home. Kind of like my grave. Oh, and home as well. Also be found at home.
Yeah.
Sorry, another thing about home. So right now, currently, Hub for Organizing Multiculturalism and Equity had over 150 people sign up for access, which is awesome and great. However, the swipe access doesn't reflect the amount of people that are utilizing the space, because a lot of our friends will open the door for their friends that are already in there, and because home is like a big glass window, you can like see if people are coming. So people just get up and get the door. The problem is Salter doesn't count it if the door is open from the inside. It only counts it if you swipe it. So like we need to just encourage people to continue to swipe on there, because otherwise this is a pilot. So home won't be a thing necessarily guaranteed in the fall or next year at all, if we don't show that there is utilization of that. So I plan to be holding a lot of my office hours in home. So I would also encourage other members of undergraduate senate to do that, or just to encourage the constituencies to utilize home and remember to use a swipe, and not just let your friends in, because it won't record it that way.
Any senators go to the order? Senator Zitzman.
So over break, right as we were coming back, there are 2 new commissions that are up and running. So that's exciting. The one that I am on, as well as a number of senators and the president and the secretary. From now until the middle of March, we are going to be working to create a big unified code of legislation, kind of like real governments have, so that like Taylor was talking about, we can get some institutional memory and keep things going on, even though the individuals that make up this organization change. So that will be fun, hopefully. And also, Senator O'Connor left, but I hope that us two as chairs of the commissions and the commissions as a whole can work together, because being a commission is kind of uncharted territory right now. We don't really know what to do. So I'm sure we can figure it out as we go.
Any other senators for the good of the order? All right, and I'll just say, make sure that you sign up for office hours because they start this week. Remember, roaming office hours are a thing still, so just be sure to sign in, take the sign, and then go wherever you want, but just make sure you let us know. Committees, get an established weekly meeting time. It's just easier for the rest of the semester. And, I have a lot of legislation to start pushing. So definitely keep up the good work. Keep it up. And enjoy being back to school, I guess. But, yes, Senator Adams.
Quick question. So for the roaming office hours, is there a way to let our constituents know that we're roaming, or is that on our own that we have to let them know?
Yeah, you can let us know and we'll post it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. If that's it, we are adjourned.
So you still want to have a